hold on. You think they
Uh,
won't bomb Israel immediately if they get a nuclear bomb?
Like, it doesn't matter if they would or wouldn't. It's the fact that there's a chance they would. And why would you
I
take that
think
chance?
the chance, like is probably larger for me than it is for you because they get to take out Sunnis and Jews. That's like a two for
Oh.
one combo, bro. There's like only 300 Shias here. They don't give a about them.
For all the Israeli chatters in here right now, remember that. I'm sure you're already aware of it, but remember that. Tell your parents, tell your neighbors. It is Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government's own personal ambition and America's go-ahead and America's targeting that has allowed this to happen.
Tell your neighbors. I just want to imagine Hassan's fans like knocking on the doors of their neighbors to be like, I hope you're aware. By the way, here's my favorite flag, the Hezbollah flag. Listen, I hope you're aware that what you're seeing on the news is not but manufactured consent for the American aggression against Israel carried out by their puppets.
What's up? Nice talking with you again.
Yeah, and yourself. Just to remind everyone, or anyone who didn't see the first time, do you want to introduce yourself to the chat?
Yes, I'm an Iranian living in Iran, and I'm just talking to you right now.
Listen, breaking news, guys, breaking news. It's been a long time in the making. Decades, perhaps. But Israel has decided to launch last night at about 2 or 3 in the morning, British time, a protracted effort to take out Iran's nuclear sites. They are probably going to be striking at least for a few days, maybe even weeks, because quite a lot of targets in Iran for the nuclear program. They have already done quite a bit of damage. They are calling this Operation... What are they calling it? Rising Lion. Yeah, Rising Lion. That's what they've called it, okay? Classic Israeli operation name. They've already sent like 200 fighter jets over to strike at what they say is the heart of Iran's ballistic missiles program. It's unprecedented, like very unprecedented in the sense that they woke up the entire country with sirens at about 2 in the morning last night, maybe even later, to tell their citizenry that they're bombing Iran and that Iran's reciprocation is expected almost immediately. That was 3 a.m. Okay, that's what started on the home front much earlier this morning, 13th of June. Why isn't this updated in Hagari voice? Listen, we will get there, okay? Chill! So Israel is in a total standstill right now. I think schools have been closed. People are panic buying in shops. Lots of daily activity is closed. People are advised to not go too far from bomb shelters, like gatherings are advised against. It's pretty chaotic there. Obviously, in Iran, it is a total shit show. There have been airstrikes all over places like Tehran and just outside of the city, and in a bunch of Iran's nuclear facilities. They've lost several. According to their own media, they've lost 5, at least, key military figures, including Hossein Salami, no more Salami. He was the head of the IRGC, the guy who replaced Qasem Soleimani. They've also lost their highest ranking military officer. Yeah, they've lost quite a few guys in their homes. They've also lost at least 2. When they say 2 civilian figures, they're talking about the nuclear scientists, which I guess Israel would say is the nuclear weapon scientists and are therefore not civilian, that kind of thing. The Iranian Oppenheimers. So their top brass is dropping like flies. Do you know how they did this? Do you know a big part of how they did this? It wasn't just airstrikes. It was also drones. Now, how does Israel get drones all the way to very secure spots in Iran, you ask? Well, obviously Iran's air defense system is already pretty wrecked, and more of it is getting hit now as well. The Mossad also had a drone facility inside Iran. Just not that far outside of the capital, outside of Tehran. It's been there for years. They had a facility inside the country, and they just activated their drones and sent them on a short journey to go and take out Iran's sites. They had a drone facility in the country, under their noses. It's so incredible how you have the pager strike in Lebanon, and everyone's like, wow, that's insane. And then Ukraine goes, hold our booze, okay? We're going to do something even better. You. And then the Mossad are like, excuse me, what? Wait till you see what we're cooking up. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. They published some footage of their ops, of their little drones popping off on Iran. These are some just, I think they're exposed surface-to-surface missile launchers. These little batteries, and these are just their drones firing right into them, driving into the heart of the sun. So it's quite clear that Israel has smelled blood for a while with Iran. Iran is very weakened. Their deterrents, which used to largely come from Hezbollah, are basically as weak as they're ever going to be. The Lebanese army has been doing, in Israel, in America's words, a very good job at dealing with a Hezbollah resurgence in the south. So I believe there are sirens in the south of, in the north of Israel, but I don't think any Hezbollah retaliation is going to be particularly substantial. Syria, again, Iran has lost a lot of influence in Syria. Obviously, the Houthis, they're going to do whatever they can do. And we know that Iran's air defense system has been targeted by the IAF just recently and is still in recovery. And obviously, these Mossad drones took out a lot more of them so that they could bomb the houses of these Iranian heads. So if you look at the strikes on these houses, they are very specific. You can see this, like even in like tall skyscrapers, they've literally picked out apartment blocks, or I guess this is like a penthouse. And there are quite a few of these as well, if I recall correctly. There are quite a few pictures of these buildings with just like one apartment or two apartments taken out of them, which they've done in Beirut in the past as well, like up there, maybe a bit more spread there. This one has taken out quite a bit more. Okay. Apparently those blocks house specific IRGC members and their families. Yep, that is the impression, yes. There's another one, a little fire in there. So definitely has all of the hallmarks of a very years-long plan. Now, where it came from, how this whole thing built up is a little interesting. I didn't expect it, to say the least. But there's been a few signs. So, obviously, as you know, Trump has been pursuing a new nuclear deal with Iran to replace the one that he left in 2018 that was put in place by Obama. So Trump has been pursuing this deal with Iran. The problem is, and as I said quite a while ago, and this might lead into some conspiracy theories, is that Trump demanded of Iran something that Iran was never going to give up. Trump said no more uranium enrichment. And Iran, in my estimation, was never going to agree to that. And they said they were never going to agree to that. So it did seem like it was set up to fail. In any case, Trump has been saying that for a little while. He, on May 28th, told Netanyahu to hold off on striking Iran because he wanted to give time for a deal. Although, more recently, he has claimed to be losing faith in this deal because obviously Iran's not going to accept no uranium enrichment. Like, that's a red line for them. Which is weird because Trump should have known that. And I'd be very surprised if Trump didn't know that, which seems like he was trying to make Iran an offer that they could only refuse, like a reverse Godfather, okay? A day after Trump told Netanyahu to back off of striking Iran or to hold off, Iranian senior officials demanded an end of the sanctions and they wanted the nuclear program to continue. So they obviously went full-on maximalist demands, which they probably feel a lot of pressure to do, given how humiliated they've been with the collapse of Hezbollah and of Assad and of the wreckage that the Houthis have faced by the Americans and Israel. So whether that was just a highball that they would have actually backed off on, I don't know, but it did seem like there was a lot of chest puffing. On June 8th, 5 days ago, Iran claimed... and obviously I think people just thought this was a meme. Iran claimed to have obtained Israeli nuclear secrets and military documents, according to their state media. Did you guys miss this? Like, I feel like we... Oh, you're not Chad Logic.
Okay.
Stop.
Iran says its intelligence services have collected thousands of sensitive documents relating to the Israeli government. According to Iranian news reports, these were obtained some time ago and include data on Israel's nuclear projects and facilities. The report says Iran obtained the documents in a covert operation. They're said to include videos and images. Tahir Asadi has more now from Tehran.
this is coming out, it grasps a huge amount of attention inside Iran. And Iranians are, in this report, putting focus on the fact that this so-called operation has been conducted from the inside of the Israeli territories, showing sort of, they're trying in a sense to flex their muscles in terms of their counter-espionage capabilities. And also that happens within the context of escalations rhetorically between the two sides. The Israelis have time and again threatened Iranians for a possible attack on Iranian nuclear facilities. And of course, such kind of report is going to go beyond that extent, put a certain amount of impact on Iran's diplomatic engagements, including the talks that are ongoing between Iran and the United States, a next round of which is expected. That's what we know for about that so far. But one last point that I wanted to add is that it's almost similar to an operation that took place back in 2018 when Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service, said that it has conducted an operation inside Iran, taking hundreds of kilograms of documents regarding Iran's nuclear capabilities and Iran's nuclear facilities in that regard. So that could be also taken into consideration as a tit-for-tat action from the Iranians.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel.
So I do believe that they did have some things from like a nuclear conference, but again, I don't know how much it was or how substantial it was. Maybe it was also just like them trying to puff themselves up, because Israel did actually successfully infiltrate Iranian nuclear documents not that long ago and captured quite a lot. So they do have a lot of intel. I also find it strange to think that like Iran is good enough to steal. It was a uni conference. Yeah, I don't think it was. Yeah, it's just like saber rattling, if you can even call it that, because it's not really rattling a saber. It's like rattling a sausage. On the 12th, not long before this strike, Iran actually said that they had built and were going to activate a third nuclear enrichment facility. They actually said they were going to do that. And if you go into a little bit about how nuclear enrichment works, like the idea that there's a third one probably means a little bit more than you might think. I wonder, and I believe it was only a couple of hours after that announcement that the Israeli strike actually happened. The last thing I remember reading before the strike, the last headline I remember reading, was Trump saying that he didn't approve of an Israeli strike before the negotiations, but that they were increasingly likely. So Trump said they were increasingly likely, and then like a couple of hours later, they get struck, right? So people knew things were up. I think people knew things were up for a while, not least of all because of the deal looking like it's going nowhere, Trump expressing doubts about the deal. They were about to enter their 6th round of talks in Oman about the nuclear deal, but it didn't seem like either side was willing to budge all that much. It's also against a backdrop of the fact that Iran's nuclear enrichment has been ridiculously fast in recent years. So, for context, the Obama nuclear deal was believed to have capped Iranian nuclear enrichment at just over uranium enrichment at just over 3% in exchange for sanctions being lifted. Now that deal was dropped by Trump in 2018, and then from 2018 onwards, or actually in 2018, Netanyahu went to the UN and claimed that Iran had a clandestine nuclear warehouse hidden inside a rug cleaning plant, like a plant for cleaning rugs. You know, like Breaking Bad with the laundrette that's actually a meth lab. He claimed that one of those was going on. Iran denied it, but the International Atomic Energy Agency did inspect the area in 2019 and claimed to have detected man-made uranium particles there. So seems like it was based on something, and they have constantly complained about a lack of clarifications from Iran regarding various sites, even ones that were dismantled because they were never declared and there was never transparency about them. But in more recent years, going from that 3% mark, by 2021, Iran had been producing uranium enriched up to 19.5%. The significance of that is that for most civilian use, uranium enrichment is typically supposed to be about 3%, okay? Between 1% and 3%. And that's because most nuclear facilities are light water reactors. And that's the fuel that they need. That's what's called normal low enriched uranium. However, Iran does have need for more, because, or like a justified use for more, because they also have a reactor in Tehran, which uses advanced fuel, which needs enrichment levels of 7 to 20%. Okay? So by 2021, they are up to kind of like the highest level of enrichment that they would need for civilian use. But in April of 2021, they announced that they were going to enrich up to 60%. Okay? Which is where people are like, whoa, why? That's harder to justify. And these numbers aren't really arbitrary, because the way uranium enrichment works is that there's like a cascade of centrifuges. Hang on.
Centrifuges.
Centrifuge, yeah. I don't know. I heard someone pronounce that word in a very strange way before, but okay. Yeah, the idea of uranium enrichment is that it happens in steps, right? There's typically one step to 20%. There's another step from 20 to 60, and then from 60 to 90. Now, if you are at 60% enriched uranium, which is almost definitely going to be stored in the form of hexafluoride gas, the enrichment step from 60 to 90 is actually very fast. It's very short. It doesn't take long to get from 60 to 90. So that's why 60 is always seen as a really big red flag, right? And the place that it was intended to take place...
YouTube won't let me make my joke. Iran bringing new meaning to carpet bombing down auto mod.
Wow, good one. Thanks for the $10. So that 60% enrichment was taking place in Natanz, which is the site that got bombed. So the problem is that the IAEA lambasted Iran in May 31st because they were increasing their stockpile of uranium enriched to what they said was near weapons grade levels. Weapons grade level is 90%. You can make weapons with 60, but again, it's like 90 is typically seen as like the weapons grade level. And 60 to 90 is not a very long process. So in May 17th, this year, about a month ago, Iran had amassed just over 400 kilograms of uranium enriched up to 60%, which is a 50% increase from February. So this year, they went from 275 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium to 408. And for context, to produce one bomb, you need 42 kilograms. Okay? And their overall stockpile of enriched uranium, including lower levels, is at currently just over 9,000 kilograms. So they've been quite busy just this year. They've been quite busy with their uranium enrichment and just attaining more and more of it. And it does. I don't know what intel Israel had, and that might come out in the coming days. I don't really know what intel they had, but they seem to be fairly adamant now that Iran is basically in a position where they could have scrambled for a bomb like fairly quickly, and might even now be in a stage where they'll be scrambling for a bomb during the fighting, okay? Because the problem with Israel bombing Iran without American coordination, which seems almost definitely what's happened, America has denied it, is that Israel does not have the firepower to take out Iran's nuclear facilities by themselves, to properly take them out. They've done it in the past. With Iraq, they took out a nuclear facility, actually in 81, incidentally, not long after Iran had tried to strike it, because Iran was at war with Saddam Hussein back then. So they succeeded in that one. In Syria, 2007, they also took out a nuclear reactor, which again was like one building, okay? So one target. When I met Ehud Olmert, he showed me the joystick that the pilot had used to strike this reactor. He has it in his office. He has this little joystick sitting there. So cute. The problem is that these are fairly infantile compared to what Iran has, okay? So Iran's nuclear facilities are scattered across the country. A lot of them are very secretive, and they're under mountains. And Israel does not have the firepower to take out these facilities that are in mountains. They don't possess, like America has this thing, right? America has the GBU-43B, which they call the mother of all bombs.
March 11th, 2003, marked a milestone in military history. At Eglin Air Force Base in Florida,
in ISIS,
the United States tested a new superweapon.
Islamic State.
Moab, short for Massive Ordnance Airburst, quickly became known as the mother of all bombs.
Boom! Wow!
This massive
breaking news. They used this against Islamic State in Afghanistan in a tunnel network that was hidden in a mountain, 2017. Do they have the footage? I thought they would have the footage. Moab. This is it. Now that right there is the mother of all bombs, okay? You guys have heard of 2,000-pound bombs? That is a 21,000-pound bomb. And Israel doesn't have, they can't drop one of these. They don't have the bombers that are required to drop one of these. That's why a lot of their attacks have been done with fighter jets. So this is why you have people like Benny Morris who are going around saying like, we need Iran's help to take out these nuclear facilities. And if they don't help us, then we're going to have to use tactical nukes, which is very scary, okay? Because I don't want to meme on it, okay? And maybe this is simplified because I'm not a great scientist. I don't know science, okay? But if you're nuking a nuke, okay, that's a problem. There's also a problem if you bomb a nuke, right? If you bomb nuclear facilities. The big fear now, and the reason that the IAEA is strongly opposed to these Israeli actions, is that the radiation from bombing these sites, if they are successful, is a whole issue in and of itself. I don't believe they have noticed anything from Natanz yet in terms of radioactive increased radiation. So it seems like they have damaged the site. It's very clear they've damaged the site, mostly overground. But I don't think this is like sufficiently hurt it, because again they haven't noticed any increase in radiation. So it would be quite weird for Israel to just kind of do a half job and then leave and sacrifice their relations with the United States and everyone else for this escalation. Unless they know something we don't, hey? Trump, an hour before the strikes, Trump said that he didn't approve of this action, but he said that it was also quite likely. Now that Israel's done it, he is very much riding the wave and using it as a bargaining chip for nuclear negotiations. So Trump is saying, and it's finally paid off, okay? It's finally paid off. Do you know how Trump keeps saying, make a deal in 2 weeks. You've got 2 weeks. You've got 24 hours. You've got 60 days. He keeps on giving these arbitrary, like in speeches, these deadlines that are not official or anything. And now he's decided that he's saying, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have, perhaps, a second chance. Iran has pulled out of all negotiations. So, not really coordinated. What is this? Okay, nice one. They're saying this wasn't coordinated. Okay. Rubio has been quite clear on that. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. So America, slightly mixed messaging here, okay? You want my conspiracy theory? Here's my conspiracy theory, okay? I think Trump had an inkling this was going to happen. He decided to put a maximalist deal on Iran, a maximalist demand that he knew they would never accept, so that Israel would basically already know before the talks had ended that the talks were never going to go anywhere. And that's his way of saying yes to Israel without saying yes. Because he doesn't want to sign off on it publicly, because Trump is no new wars president, okay? A lot of his voter base doesn't like interventionism. So if Trump just kind of gives Israel the most unsubtle nod in the world, which I believe it was, Israel does the strike, and then Trump says, well, we told you to negotiate. I think that's what Trump was doing. That's my little tinfoil hat theory, which is not based on anything really other than conjecture, but I'm firmly convinced of it, okay? You cannot change my mind at the same time. It's the art of the deal, okay? The art of the deal. Israel nuking the nukes. But again, we have a long while to go, okay? This is just the beginning. This is going to be a protracted, drawn-out campaign, because Iran has been very busy for the last few decades. That's the airport in Tabriz. This is some gay footage of a jet refueling in midair. Over Syria? Apparently a military airfield. Well, anyway, the Middle East has no chill. I mean, the chances of Iran's regime falling in this, I don't know. Don't know. Again, Iran's regime is very, very unpopular. Has been insanely unpopular for a very long time. The only people who like the Iranian regime are like white Westerners, or Hezbollah, right? Shiites in Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon. No one else gives a fuck about Iran. Not the regime anyway. The Russians, yeah, they like Iran, I guess. They'd benefit from all those Shahid drones and things like that. Well, that seems to be where we are now. Iran has since retaliated by sending at least 100 drones in the direction of Israel. A few hours ago, they did that. Jordan, I believe, is working to intercept some of them. Israel is working to intercept some of them, although they're very paranoid, obviously, about people dying to any of these stray missiles, because they will fall through Israel's air defense. At least some of them will. They always do. And again, it's going to be more this time. I don't think Iran is going to run out of steam anytime soon. All the drones were shot down, really. Well, did any munitions land on anyone or any buildings? Apparently, the US was aware of these plans for at least a week. Maybe longer, but I think they say at least a week. Yeah. They knew about the planned operation for at least a week, according to a different Israeli official. Continuously involved. Is Netanyahu still liked by the Israeli population? Not really, but he will be after this. Again, people talk about Israelis wanting to destroy Palestinians or Hamas or anything like that, and Amalek, but most Israelis, left or right, their big thing is Iran. When Israel talks about an existential crisis, they're not really talking about Palestinians. They're talking about Iran. They see Iran as the existential threat because Iran is a regime that is run by Islamic fundamentalists with a very explicit, long-lasting goal of destroying Israel, right? They describe Israel as a cancerous tumor. The Ayatollah describes them this way, as a cancerous tumor in the region that needs to be removed. That's what they say. If you go all the way back to the kind of like foundation of Islamic government, in the words of Khomeini, he's quite clear. From the very beginning, the historical movement of Islam has had to contend with the Jews, for it was they who first established anti-Islamic propaganda and engaged in various stratagems, and as you can see, this activity continues down to the present. Later, they were joined by other groups who were, in certain respects, more satanic than they. So I guess like an allusion to... These groups began their imperialist penetration of the Muslim countries about 300 years ago. That's where Ruhollah Khomeini stood in the 70s, and it's kind of been passed down the leadership ever since. Talking about imperialism. If the rulers of Muslim countries truly represented the believers and enacted God's ordinances, they would set aside their petty differences, abandon their subversive and divisive activities, and join together like the fingers of one hand. Then a handful of wretched Jews, brackets the agents of America, Britain, and other foreign powers, would never have been able to accomplish what they have, no matter how much support they enjoyed from America and Britain. All this happened because of the incompetence of those who rule over the Muslims. Yeah, so they've had this issue with Israel for quite a while, right? They've had this issue for a while, and that's why Iran has been willing very much to hamstring their entire economy and their international reputation and their international diplomacy with countries like America, the European states, and everything else. They've been willing to sacrifice a lot of their goodwill with the rest of the world on the altar of trying to like hammer at Israel. Like this has been a long lasting ambition of theirs. That's why like 50% of their oil budget goes to the IRGC, or 50% of their oil is controlled by the IRGC. And quite a lot of that budget goes to supporting IRGC Quds, which is the group, the kind of foreign arm of the IRGC, which is, again, Quds, Jerusalem, is devoted to trying to support proxy groups like Hezbollah, like proxy networks in Iraq, like Assad, like the Houthis, and even Hamas, to wage this kind of endless war of attrition against Israel. And they're very clear about it as well. This is Nasrallah talking about it during the Second Intifada. In my estimation, a war of attrition rather than a classical war is liable to destroy the Zionist entity. This war might be ongoing even while negotiations are underway or reconciliation is in the offing. It's been a very clear shared goal for a very long time. So that's why, among other reasons, Israelis are bricking it at the concept of Iran ever getting a nuke, because they think if Iran gets a nuke, if they're willing to hurt themselves in so many other ways to hurt Israel, then why wouldn't they drop a nuke as well? You know, it's like, to them, it's not worth the risk. To them, it's an existential threat, which is why they seem to be quite okay with unilateral action against their enemies getting nuclear weapons. This is Benjamin talking about it.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before.
9 atom bombs will be a reference to the IAEA stats. Is that right? Because they're saying 408 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. They said this on May 17th. You need 42 to produce 1 bomb. Yeah, okay. But it's only at 60, not 90. But again, the path from 60 to 90, I believe, is quite quick.
Steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime.
Classic.
Today,
he loves bringing in the Holocaust. No one loves the Holocaust more than Netanyahu.
the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey.
New Jersey, hey.
This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated
Rising lion.
Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors.
Moral analysis aside, do you think Netanyahu is skilled as a politician? I mean, he's skilled in the sense of he spent 20 years weaponizing Israeli fear to stay in office and manipulating his way to building coalitions and cynically abusing public opinion to get what he wants. Yeah, he's good at that, for sure.
They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons.
There is some mostly yellow ribbon Twitter cap about a revolution already taking place in Iran because people are coming out of their houses and gathering in crowds. And I'm like, mate, that's because they want to see what the fuck's happening. Like, I don't know. Like, the whole fear about there being a revolution in Iran right now is that it might not necessarily. Everyone in Iran hates the regime, okay? It is one of the most despised regimes by its own population in the entire world, okay? We all know this. With the protests are like every other year, there's like a huge uprising that gets squashed by very aggressive IRGC forces. But the problem is that the risk of leaving any power vacuum in Iran is that the IRGC youth, the youngest members of the third generation of the IRGC, are the most radical wing in the entire country, like in the history of the IRGC. They are insane, okay? Which is good for the regime because they have no issue with gunning down protesters en masse to quell uprisings. But it also means that if there is a revolution, they will be a force in any kind of like counter-revolution or any power vacuum being exploited. So quite scary.
To its terrorist proxies, that would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan.
Wow.
And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chance of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act, and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time.
Wow.
They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state
Is he going to mention that al-Husseini did it? Do it! It would be so funny. It would be so good.
Never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves.
Oh, you said it again.
Over 3,000 years ago, Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future. May God bless Israel. May God bless the forces of civilization everywhere.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Trump is, whether or not Trump wanted Israel to do this, he is milking the absolute shit out of it. Look at him. Trump warns Iran of more brutal Israeli attacks and after major strikes on nuclear and military sites. Yeah, he's loving it. Because I think he believes that he can use it as a bargaining chip in the definitely upcoming talks in Oman, even though Iran has pulled out of them. Iranian state media says 78 people killed, 329 injured. Quite a lot for one day. I'll have to check out his Truth Social updates. It seems from the nuclear agencies, so whether it's the IAEA or the ISIS, you know, they've never changed their name, Institute for Science and International Security. They're kind of on a consensus now of like condemning Iran's nuclear enrichment levels, the 60% thing, saying it's dangerous, uncharted, etc. But then also condemning Israel's attacks as reckless and potentially risking like huge radioactive fucking disasters in the country. So that's more or less where they're coming from. That's where they're coming from. What else do we have from the international stage? No, not yet. Where's Keith? Didn't Keith Starmer say something? Oh, we've seen Truth Social, seen that. IDF propaganda. Let's go. Let's see where their little 1-minuters. They've been waiting a while for this.
For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction.
It's just not the same without Mr. Hagari. It's just not the same.
Of the state of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The state of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the state of Israel.
Wow, thank you. What else? The little graphics as well. Declassified Iran's nuclear plans. Is this as the IAEA report? Is this declassified? Bro, everyone, this is not fucking declassified. What the fuck? Within a split second, the Iranian regime can decide to obtain a nuclear weapon, and they would have enough enriched uranium for 9 nuclear bombs! Exclamation mark. Does it take a split second? I know it's quick, but I thought it was like a month or 2 months they would need. Oh, this is the percentages. Remember, the more competent the military, the worse the propaganda, okay? No sound, no high compression, drums and fucking strings. Hans Zimmer. Okay. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to get to 90% or 2 weeks to weaponize? Because these are 2 different phases, right? To actually make the weapon. Iranian regime leaders in their own words. Oh no, this is probably them saying Israel's a cancer and great Satan, little Satan, death to America, death to Israel, curse upon the Jews. Probably those ones.
جنگ ما محلی نیست. ما برای شکست دادن قدرت‌های جهانی برنامه داریم.
That is a very... This is the guy who just died, Hassan Salami. Salami.
جنگ ما محلی نیست. ما برای شکست دادن قدرت‌های جهانی برنامه داریم. ما برای شکستن آمریکا و اسرائیل و شرکا و متحدان آنها برنامه ریزی می‌کنیم. نیروی زمینی ما باید زمین را از لوث وجود اینها پاک کند.
اون نقطه مایه فساد، مایه جنگ، مایه اختلاف رژیم صهیونی است. رژیم صهیونی که غده سرطانی
bingo card, cancer, let's go.
خطرناک مهلک این منطقه است، حتما باید برکنده شود.
That first guy's dead. Dead as fuck. No shot. No chance. No recovery. Keith Starmer. The reports of these strikes are concerning, and we urge all parties to step back and reduce tensions urgently. Escalation serves no one in the region. Stability in the Middle East must be the priority, and we are engaging partners to de-escalate. Now is the time for restraint, calm, and a return to diplomacy. Get the Iranians back to Oman. Let's go. Check Macron. France has repeatedly condemned the ongoing Iranian program and has taken all diplomatic measures to this end. In this context, France affirms Israel's right to protect itself and ensure its security. In order not to jeopardize the stability of the entire region, I call on the parties to exercise the utmost restraint and de-escalate. Following the Israeli strikes on Iran and its nuclear program, I held a National Defense and Security Council meeting this morning. All measures will be taken to protect our nationals and our diplomatic and military bases in the region. All measures will be put in place to ensure the protection of the national territory and our fellow citizens. France is ready to work with all its partners to achieve de-escalation in the Near and Middle East. Today, I met with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the King of Jordan, the President of the UAE, the Emir of Qatar, the German Chancellor, the British Prime Minister, and the American President. Peace and security for all in the region must be our compass. Don't really have any issue with any of that. It's a pretty standard politician statement. This is not really expected, though, these first two lines. From him anyway. Trump interview with the WSJ, Wall Street Journal. Trump, WSJ. Huh. When? Just now? I don't see it. Trump today. US was aware? Obviously. Is this him talking? It's not an uploaded video, it's just him yapping. What we got here? It's not an interview, I don't think. It's just, he warns that the attacks could very well happen. Well, this was obviously just before, this was a few hours before the attacks happened.
How imminent is the Israeli strike on Iran?
Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary.
How confident are you, sir, that conflict with Iran can be avoided?
Well, I'd love to avoid the conflict. Iran's going to have to negotiate a little bit tougher, meaning they're going to have to give us some things that they're not willing to give us right now. I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be, I'd much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon.
Lannis, thanks for the 30 shekels. Sending love to all Iranian bros who aren't pro-regime. I see there's a lot of them. Hope we'll sit together in Tel Aviv or Tehran for a beer within a decade or two. Israelis are so funny, man. That is the most Israeli sentence I've ever heard in my life. Bros. Bros. Nothing ever happens. Trump to the Wall Street Journal. US was aware of Israel's plans to attack Iran. Is this what happens when you fucking oh my god. Fuck you. I need to buy the Wall Street Journal. Buy it out. Can we afford it? Can we set a goal? Dude, what is the Ayatollah saying? I think Al Jazeera have a thing on his statements.
When Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, issued this statement, he said, "The Zionist regime opened its filthy and bloody hand to commit a crime in our beloved country and revealed its evil nature by striking residential centers more than in the past." He goes on to say that the Zionist regime has prepared a bitter and painful fate for itself and will definitely receive it. Noor Ode is back with us now from Oman. Noor, what do you make of that statement from Iran's supreme leader?
Well, it is really what Israel is expecting. Israel understands and understood when it drew up these plans, when it took the decision to strike and destroy Iran's nuclear capability, but also the conventional capabilities, that Iran would want to retaliate. In fact, news reports say that the expectation is that within the next possibly 2 hours, there would be the first preliminary response from Iran. And so there is readiness for that, and those plans have already been in play since the early hours of dawn. The Israeli government announced a state of emergency. It put the airspace under lockdown, canceled schools, canceled all normal activity in civilian life, and instructed thousands of reservists to report to active military duty. So there are a lot of safeguards that Israel has taken already in anticipation of this Iranian response to the unprecedented Israeli attack on Iran. The latest reports indicate that Israel claims to have attacked 300 separate targets in those 5 waves of attacks and assassinated, as we heard from our colleague in Tehran, senior military commanders, as well as at least 10 nuclear scientists, according to Israeli military reports, citing senior military sources in Israel. So this was an unprecedented Israeli attack, and the expectation is that the tit-for-tat attacks will continue for at least 2 weeks.
No, stay with us.
At least 2 weeks.
We bring in Dorsa Jabari again here in the studio in Al Jazeera. Is this an attack?
We heard days from Netanyahu, people saying days or weeks, at least 2 weeks. Well, there's a lot of work to undo in Iran, I guess. There's a lot of nuclear shit in that country. Technical term. What do we have? Live updates. Breaking news, live updates. Mike Johnson, House Speaker, defends Israel's following strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. House Speaker Mike Johnson today defended Israel's unprecedented attack on Iran, saying that they were clearly within their right to do so. Unfortunately, Iran has refused to agree and even declared yesterday its intent to build a new enrichment facility. Israel decided it needed to take action to defend itself. They were clearly within their right to do so. Iran will face grave consequences if it responds by unjustifiably targeting U.S. interests. America just recently pulled out they evacuated their embassy in Iraq because Iraq is the country where Iran actually holds quite a bit of sway over the Shia militias in the country. Remember, Iraq is majority Shia, so bit of a threat to U.S. interests there. Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine said yesterday that she hopes the Israeli operation against Iran is successful, saying that the U.S. too is at risk from a nuclear Iran. Iran has greatly expanded its uranium enrichment with the goal of producing nuclear weapons that pose an existential threat to Israel. Our country is too is at risk as Iran continues to develop not only of fissile material, but also of ballistic missiles. I hope the Israeli operation to eliminate Iran's nuclear capability is successful. It won't be though, will it? It won't be. Israeli attack may trigger a war Trump sought to avoid, Iran analysts say. Unlikely to push Iran towards a weakened position at the negotiating table. It's more likely to trigger a war with the Trump administration. Iran has already said this is the declaration of war, so Iran believes that they're at war. Trump may have calculated this will soften Iran's position, but just as he was wrong that maximum pressure will bring Iran to the table, he will be proven wrong that the Israeli attack could give him a diplomatic win. Trita Parsi, Executive Vice President of the Quincy Institute in Washington, D.C., said today's strikes were not a preemptive attack on Iran alone, but rather Israel seeking to kill Trump and America's chance to secure a deal with Iran that prevents Iran from building nuclear weapons. Ali Vaiz, the International Crisis Group's Iran project director, said that Israel's attack likely blew up Trump's diplomacy with Iran. What Trump does next could determine whether his presidency will be consumed by another war in the Middle East or not, he said. Well, it does seem like Trump is riding the wave. Like he seems to be, like, it's probably the least disapproval I've ever seen of a president towards Israel's attack. Like, Israel's unilateral action. Iranian drone activates sirens in Upper Galilee. If you're in the Galilee, pray. Wow. Pray for the Galilee. Is it true that Iranians are celebrating? Dunno. Maybe some of them are. Who knows? Wouldn't surprise me. But these are explosions in like the middle of civilian areas, so I also would more expect them to just be fucking scared. My first instinct. How many civilians have died? We don't know. Okay, breaking news. Vosh React. Let's see some other creators. What are
Sorry
they
if this
saying?
sounds bad. Not used to using my phone. Ran over here to record this. Obviously, I'm traveling, not at my computer when I really should be, but you know, that's life.
Yeah.
Israel just attacked Iran. Claimed it did so to disable its nuclear facilities, but in a remarkable coincidence, Netanyahu's government was really, really close to collapsing, and he has, as he's always been using the threat of an Iran...
Did Israel, did the government secure a deal with Shas before or after the strikes? I believe it was before, right? They secured a deal with Shas before the strikes. So that risk of collapse kind of got neutered. Ugh. Excuse me.
Iranian nuclear weapons.
I don't know if it had to do with the strike. It might have.
As an excuse to justify his continued leadership. So they bomb Iran. They prompt obvious retaliation. Likely Iran is going to strike American sites in the region, which is why we cleared our people out of sites in Iraq. Look, it's really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And it's so cynical, too. Jesus. It's, look, there's a lot of obvious shit here, okay? Trump has not been the most complicit with the Israeli regime, probably because he has his own loyalties, allegiances. Qatar bought him a plane, you know. He likes stuff like that. Netanyahu's annoying. He doesn't like dealing with him. But on Monday, Trump went to Camp David. He had a meet and greet with a bunch of military leaders. And also, wow, a phone call with Netanyahu right after. And Netanyahu today said that, wow, it was on Monday that he decided to carry out this attack. We were in the middle of talks with Iran to try to secure some kind of deal in order to avoid the weapons-grade enrichment of uranium. Whether or not that deal would have worked is at this point irrelevant. The United States agreed to this. We took our hands off and we said, whatever, Israel, you go for it. Because of our, continuous
That's
undying...
exactly what he did. Hang on. Let's not do other streamer shit just yet. Fox News. Come on, Fox.
Former FBI special agent and Navy SEAL
Fox are fucking unhinged on Israel. Like,
Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, good morning to you. I want to talk to you about what has led to this moment in time. When you think about since October 7th, what Israel was capable of doing with the pager attack against Hezbollah, where Hamas stands right now, and where the Houthis that have, with the help of the United States, been very much decimated in their capabilities to strike back. All of that leading to this moment that we sit in right now.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting when we look at this, Israel has actually evolved back to the out of the box thinking and the tactics of eliminating your enemy like it was in before World War II and during World War II. After that, the world moved to a different way of fighting. And we've seen a tremendous amount of advances in techniques and evolution of warfare in Ukraine and Russia. And the way that the Iranian intel services in China use social media, for instance, to actually form social issues within other nations. And now we see this, where Israel has gone back and systematically taken out the proxies. Now, this is very important because Iran does not fight their own wars outside of their borders. They use proxies. And I don't know if most people realize that. They have targeted Israel over and over using Hamas, Hezbollah. They went after Israel's strategic targets using the Houthis. And so somewhere along the way, Israel...
Big question. If anyone can find this from me, because I'm looking off screen for it and I cannot find it. Where did Trump actually give his 60-day deadline to Iran? Apparently it came out on April 12th, but where? Oh, here, Politico, okay. 11th of April. So on the 11th of April, Trump set a 60-day deadline. Okay, I was just thinking, like, how funny would it be if he just made this up? What if he just made it up? Okay, so Israel, this is from the 11th of April. Okay.
Israel figured this out. And I think this is part of at least a three-prong operation. First was the intel gathering about Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran themselves, along with the Houthis. And then they started carrying out attacks to really just cripple Hamas and Hezbollah. We, as you just said, helped with the Houthis. But along that way, there was an initial attack inside of Iran. It tested their air defenses. We saw that they were horrible. And it showed that Iran did not have the ability to go the distance all the way over themselves into Israel and actually effectively attack Israel. So with all of that in place and understanding all that and all those different missions working, they were able to then go and start putting these operatives inside Iran and setting up for the big attack. And I think the rest of the world needs to realize that this is the way war fighting has evolved, and Israel is successful because they did it that way. They didn't just do it politically.
So, Jonathan, what do you think Iran is doing right now? Are they calling up their proxies that have been severely degraded over the past year and a half and saying, help us strike back?
Good question.
Well, so here's where the real issue, I think, of the future for all of us comes into play, is that we constantly call, and I've heard several guests call Iran the terrorists of the region. But the reality is terrorism is a tactic that they use. Their ideology is fundamental Islam. And this has been a case for thousands of years.
Fundamental Islam. Thousands
and Iran has never evolved.
Thousands of years. Okay. That's Iran has been like this mostly since the late 70s. It's not been thousands of years, but okay.
Or progress to where they work things out diplomatically. You could never trust them. And so with this fundamentalism, this is the fear that I have, is that even inside the United States, the exact attack that Israel just carried out inside the borders of Iran, with the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran. Same thing in Israel. That's basically what happened on October 7th when
he basically just called them savage barbarians. Yes, he did. Yes. This guy is mental. Yes.
The Hamas went in and attacked Israel. They weren't prepared for that. And so we need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the
Iranian sleeper cells in the U.S. and Israel. Okay. Well, hang tight, guys. Okay. Thoughts and prayers if you get hit by an Iranian sleeper cell in Vermont. Okay.
One way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware, and that's what's going to prevent the majority of this. But Israel is definitely on top of their game. And right now, Iran should be in panic mode because they don't even have the ability right now at this point to run operations with their proxies because they're fighting for their life.
Yeah, the fear of sleeper cells in the United States is very concerning. It's something that the president is very aware of and trying to mitigate as we speak. Jonathan, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Carly.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click
Brian, what? Jesus. To be fair, I'd probably say that if my name was Brian. Kill me. Didn't they recently arrest a few Iranians in the UK? Yeah, like there are. It's not fake, like, but I don't know if they're sleeper cells or if they're just like independent terrorists or whatever the fuck. Spies. There's been a very funny bit of Twitter behavior from Haviv Retig Gur. He's so funny, man. He's like, what is he? The lefty hawk. He's so snarky. Bassem Youssef commentary. I stand with Iran. Fuck Israel and their supporters. Yeesh. I feel sorry for the guy. We live rent-free in his head. Our existence consumes him, and he'll forever be powerless to destroy us. Don't be like Bassem. It isn't healthy. He is so snark. He's fighting with Ryan Grimm as well. The IRGC leadership is being targeted. No more proxies, you cowards. No more hiding behind weaker peoples. Ryan Grimm, killing someone in their bed while they sleep and calling them a coward. Okay. Haviv, friends, there will always be those who look at the oppressors of a half-dozen nations, the drivers of the Syria genocide. Okay. See, I told you, it's a political term. It doesn't mean shit to anyone. and demolishers of Lebanon and Yemen, the tyrants who keep their own people in chains, the non-Arab regime about whom Arabs joke that they are, quote, willing to fight Israel to the last Arab, and clutch their pearls about whether these military men were asleep when they died. These military men whose missiles usually hit us in the middle of the night, waking up hundreds of thousands of our children. Yes, they are cowards, no matter what hour of the day they die, and in the West, even greater cowards run defense for them. Those who live out their inane morality plays on our backs, who check imagined skin tone before deciding who has the high moral ground. These special new Orientalists living fake social media lives in which our existence and experience is reduced to their moral emotions. Laugh at them, enjoy their vapid moralizing, their willful ignorance, and then mute them. We are living real lives with everything at stake. They are not the story. They have so little story, in fact, that they must build one on us. Jesus. Grumble, grumble, grumble. He's a fucking wall poster. Look at this. He's a left-wing memer. You're celebrating striking people at home with their children and families. Some were scientists, not military figures. Okay, wait. We need to... Hang on. Their families are obviously not legitimate targets. You have lost your moral compass with this gleeful slaughter. I'm not actually sure what IHL says about targeting nuclear scientists if they're working on weapons. Might be a good question. I don't think they mention scientists in the Geneva Conventions. I've never seen that, but... If anyone knows any articles about that, it could be interesting. Why do people always misuse this word targeting? Let's say the family dies in the strike. Like they're there and they die. They're not the target. The target would be the militant. But, okay. ICRC seems to say it's illegal. Yeah, okay. If I thought you were an idiot, I'd call this an unbelievably stupid knee-jerk take of a latte-sipping Western Orientalist who thinks we live to stand before him in judgment. But you're not an idiot, so this isn't an honest, stupid take. It's a bigoted one couched in moral language to hide its intent. War is evil. It's actually terrible. I've bled in one, you haven't. And this regime has facilitated the deaths in war of maybe 1 million people in just the last decade, people who never exercised your imagination or drew your sympathy. It also seeks to kill my own children for their ideology of conquest and redemption. So it must be removed by war, because it won't stop any other way. And killing the leaders is the easiest and least bloody way to get it done. And that's what's going to happen whether you like it or not. And you'll be able to muster in response the only thought your bigotries will allow for, is that some civilians will die, so all Israelis are ghouls. Say one serious thing about the Iranian regime's actions in Syria. Tell us how many Sudanese must die before you consider asking the world to even pay attention, never mind try to end it. Selective outrage isn't outrage. It's bigotry cloaked in moralizing. This view you have that your critics are only critics because they are infected with bigotry and don't care about your children badly clouds your judgment. Try to take the arguments on their merits. If all this war and occupation was truly the best path to peace and security, why is it 2025 and Israel is still at it with no end in sight? What will you do in 5 years? Another bombing campaign and onward until the end of time? This idea you have that peace and justice lie just on the other side of one more series of assassinations, whether only a few children are killed alongside or an entire city blocks worth, just keeps slipping further and further from reality, but you can't see it. I think the problem with Ryan Grimm is that he seems to think that well, I know he doesn't care really, but yeah, he seems to think that that Israel has a diplomatic way out of dealing with Iran, which I don't think they don't. Okay, ICRC interpretive guidance on the notion of direct participation in hostilities. Oh wait, no, I've read this, haven't I? Is this the same article? Did they mention scientists? Hang on. For a specific act to qualify as, quote, direct rather than indirect participation in hostilities, there must be a sufficiently close causal relation between the act and the resulting harm. Standards such as indirect causation of harm or materially facilitating harm are clearly too wide, as they would bring the entire war effort within the concept of direct participation in hostilities and thus would deprive large parts of the civilian population of their protection against direct attack. Instead, the distinction between direct and indirect participation in hostilities must be interpreted as corresponding to that between direct and indirect causation of harm. Well, if it's indirect, then the scientists are off limits then, I'd imagine, according to this guideline. In the present context, direct causation should be understood as meaning that the harm in question must be brought about in one causal step. Therefore, individual conduct that merely builds up or maintains the capacity of a party to harm its adversary, or which otherwise only indirectly causes harm, is excluded from the concept of direct participation in hostilities. For example, imposing a regime of economic sanctions on a party to an armed conflict, depriving it of financial assets, or providing its its adversary with supplies and services, such as electricity, fuel, construction material, finances, and financial services, would have a potentially important but still indirect impact on the military capacity or operations of that party. Other examples of indirect participation include scientific research and design, as well as production and transport of weapons and equipment unless carried out as an integral part of a specific military operation designed to directly cause the required threshold of harm. Likewise, although the recruitment and training of personnel is crucial to the military capacity of a party to the conflict, the causal link with the harm inflicted on the adversary will generally remain indirect. Only where persons are specifically recruited and trained for the execution of a predetermined hostile act can such activities be regarded as an integral part of that act, and therefore as direct participation in hostilities. Well, that's difficult, isn't it? Because if they're specifically recruited and trained for the execution of a predetermined hostile act, is it because you're one step removed it doesn't count? Like if a scientist is recruited to help them get to 90% enrichment so they can make a weapon, I don't know if that's that clear cut, to be honest, because it is removed from the act, but it's also like, okay, if it's removed from the act, but then the question becomes, would you hire this person were you not trying to get a nuke to use on a country? They'd probably have to show that though, right? Like this person's only hired to get a nuke to hit Israel. But again, research and design and transport of weapons, unless part of a military operation. So they would have to have been planning to fire the nuke as soon as it was ready. Well, these are interpretive guidelines. That's again from that paragraph, you would have to have a moral debate. I don't know what the answer is there. That's difficult. What am I looking for? Oh yeah. Okay. Did Saddam Hussein have the capabilities to create a nuke? No, they bombed the facility. So 9 hours ago, the IAEA said that there was no increase in radiation at the Natanz nuclear site. Some people now are saying that there is a radiation leak, but I don't know where they're getting that. 2 people have said this so far, but they haven't sent me links, which strongly suggests they're getting it from Twitter, but that this is when Natanz was hit. Whoa, big explosion. Breaking news, Natanz. The IAEA were just saying what Iran said. Yeah, but why are people saying it's confirmed now that there are? Where's the link? Not sure how credible this is. Okay, we'll see it anyway. Okay, so now apparently there is reports of radioactive contamination. Uh-oh. That's not good. Why won't you translate, dick? Hey, fuck me. What are you doing? Okay, some say there's a leak, some say there's not. Okay? That's my news. Breaking news, if you will. Fuck off. Whoa. He's still popping off, isn't he? He's still going mad. So, does Iran have a right to defend itself? Of course it has a right to defend itself. And if it wasn't led by genocidal yet incompetent clowns, it A, wouldn't actually need to, and B, would be able to if it had to. Happy to clear that up, Mehdi. Let me know if you have any more questions. Okay. Guy on Twitter talking about radiation. Okay, trustworthy. There was a radiation leak. It's a fucking tweet. But it occurred inside the building. No radiation was released outside. This is the enrichment complex post-strike. Okay. The Iranian commander who was killed in the strike was directly involved in transferring Shaheds to the Russians. What to use in Ukraine. Okay. Barabbas, thanks for the $2. You have 99 plus missed calls from Duolingo, obviously. I like how Duolingo basically acts like a scorned ex when they text you. Are you ignoring me? Are you cheating on me? This fucking shit. Game on. Pray for Israel from Lindsey Graham. Israel attacks regional power during U.S. nuclear negotiations amidst a genocide on captive population, bombing Yemen and Lebanon, occupying Syria, and they're still the victims. Well done, Hassan. Well done. Yes. None of these actions were precipitated by anything, actually. Are we hate watching? Are we hate watching? Let's do a hate watch.
Israel is not.
Hey, we haven't done one for a while. 28 minutes. Go.
Israel is not maybe attacking Iran. Israel is attacking Iran right now. They have officially declared a preemptive attack against Iran. and also officially declared a state of emergency. Breaking as of 3 minutes ago from Barak Ravid, Israeli Minister of Defense Israel Katz declares a special state of emergency in the home front throughout the entire state of Israel. Following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone strike against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future, says Israel Katz. Israel officially conducts strikes in Iran. So the chatters in Tehran that reported hearing explosion sounds were correct. Statement posted by the IDF to Telegram just now changes the Home Front Command defensive guidelines.
Ryan Grimm, Citizen Journalism. Let's go.
Situational assessment. It was determined that as of today, at 3 a.m., immediate changes will be made to the Home Front Command guidelines. As a part of the changes, it was decided to shift all areas of the country from full activity to essential activity. The guidelines include a prohibition of educational activities, gatherings, and workplaces, except for essential sectors. The public is required to follow the guidelines published on the official Homefront Command channels. Full guidelines will be updated on the National Emergency Portal and the Homefront Command app. After hours market closed 5 minutes ago. Holy f***, did Israel just strike? They struck right on the...
What we got here? Footage shared by Iranian news agency WANA. Crowds of student-led protesters rallying in Tehran on Friday calling for retaliation. Not to have a go at crowd sizes, but this is like fuck all people, but okay.
On the dot. Now, America has said that it won't participate in an Israeli strike on Iran, but of course this does not mean that America won't defend Israel. Let's be real. America is defending Israel. Israel lacks the heavy bombers needed to destroy deeply buried Iranian sites like Fordow and may resort to repeated raids. The Pentagon canceled a top general's visit to Israel, signaling distance from any strike plans. Why Israel can't destroy Iran's nuclear program alone. Hardened nuclear sites, buried under 80 to 100 meters of rock. Only US GBU-57 massive ordnance...
Mother of all bombs! They need a 21,000-pound bomb.
Trader B-2 bomber exclusives can reach it. Israel lacks both the GBU-57s and the B-2 bombers. Israel's GBU-28 can penetrate 6 meters of concrete, insufficient to destroy Fordow or similar deep sites. The conclusion, Israel can carry out targeted attacks, but destroying Iran's nuclear program outright is beyond its solo capacity. U.S. help is essential for such a mission to succeed. Yeah, here's also another ominous development. Per a cable obtained by Dropsite News, the State Department is creating a Middle East task force to coordinate crisis-related support to U.S. citizens, public messaging, and diplomatic engagement due to increased tensions in the region. As in, they're setting up a specific task force for manufacturing consent to potentially go to war with Iran.
Good old manufacturing consent. Having run out of children to kill in Gaza, it appears Israel is now targeting children in Iran. This was Tehran just hours ago. Okay. It's always targeting children. Okay.
Considering that they didn't set this up.
The top IRGC figures and military commanders and generals, they were just collateral damage, to the children.
Up for the past 19, 20 months of genocide to defend Israel's image. This means that America will get more hands-on involved, and in order to deliver their hands-on involvement to the public with a more appealing message, this could be the reason why they're setting up a task.
Isn't Dropsite super unreliable and biased? Yes, they are. They literally just regurgitate shit from Al Jazeera sources or even like pro-Hamas journalists on the ground in Gaza. They've literally, I've caught them fabricating or sharing fabricated statements before about the anti-Hamas protests. But, no one cared, so rip.
Task force. The Iranian journalist is posting more video footage as well of more sites that were bombed, seemingly. Stock guy says it was time to be exactly after the U.S. post-market close so no one could get ahead of the commodities or futures. Just so you're aware, they waited until right after the post-market close. That's what someone in the chat was saying as well. Normally, under other circumstances, if it was another country, I would say, there's no way, and it's just a coincidence. But Israel is so fucking lasered on American politics and whatever the fuck's going on in America. They will use uncertainty or moments of panic in American discourse as an opportunity to fucking shelter themselves and will, they are super dialed in at a time when there's growing instability in the United States of America. There's too many different things to hyper-focus on in day-to-day American existence, I feel like Israel could have seen this as a unique opportunity to strike, especially as the Iran denuclearization agreements with the maximalist position that the Trump administration pushed forward was seemingly going nowhere. The only reason why I'm shocked that they did it now, after signaling that they would do it sometime before Sunday, was because of Trump.
Both sides were being maximalist. If Trump was being maximalist, Iran was as well, because they said end all the sanctions and also allow us to keep on developing our nuclear program, even though they were warned by the IAEA and every like nuclear fucking agency and watchdog has been saying, don't do that. Like you can't, like you have no justification to have the level of enrichment that you're pursuing other than weapons.
Trump's military parade on Saturday. I know that sounds really stupid, but Trump is really stupid. He is exactly the type of guy. He's exactly the type of guy that would get mad at his birthday parade.
Memes, big memes. History Speaks reposted. The media working in real time to manufacture consent for how Israel is still the victim after its direct strike on Iran. Do people just forget? Like, I thought when Hassan was trying to tell that Iranian taxi driver that he supports Iran against Israel, did he think that Iran was just waiting to defend itself against Israel? Or does he not realize that, or is he just very aware that Iran devotes substantial portions of their GDP and actually kind of sacrifices the well-being of their people so they can fund a war of attrition on Israel through their proxies? So dumb. First, they came for the Iranian nuclear reactors, and I did not speak out because I was not an Iranian nuclear reactor based.
Parade getting up by a ally, but also once again, Israel is an extension of America. Nothing Israel does, I think, is considered
great states and little states
on its own, independently from without American supervision. Oh yeah, this looks like a targeted assassination attempt. Trump is convening a cabinet-level meeting as Israel launched what it called preemptive strikes against Iran. A White House official and two sources familiar with plans told me and Kylie Atwood the meeting was planned before the strike. The sources said the meeting was expected to focus on U.S. response.
We got a lot of sourcing going on today. Look at all these Twitter. That's a lot.
Atwood, the meeting was planned before the strike, the sources said. The meeting was expected to focus on U.S. response to developing events in Iran. Trump was seen leaving the congressional picnic at the White House shortly after 8 p.m. The White House declined to comment. Times of Israel correspondent with the IDF talking points. The IDF confirms it has launched an aerial campaign against Iran's nuclear program. Dozens of targets across Iran related to the nuclear program and other military facilities are being struck by the Israeli Air Force. It says the operation is dubbed Strength of a Lion. The IDF says Iran has enough enriched uranium to build several bombs within days. Within days. Oh my God. Since like the 90s, Iran is 3 seconds to midnight from building a nuclear weapon. They have enriched uranium. They are
people are doing this thing where they share like a New York Times article from the 90s of like someone saying that Iran is close to nuclear weapons, even though, again, Iran themselves admitted to having a nuclear weapons program that they stopped in 2003. But in any case, even the IAEA is saying that this is a level of enrichment that you would only do for weapons. Even they're saying that it's dangerous, it's reckless, it's against their ultimatums. So are they all wrong now as well?
Literally one day out. Sirens that sounded across Israel a short while ago were a preemptive warning issued by the IDF ahead of a possible reaction by Iran. U.S. regularly castigates Iran as the key threat.
We went from 3.6 to 60%. Are they missing it? Yeah, we went from 3.6 to 60% in what, like 5 years? Yeah. And again, the 60 to 90% window is actually not that big, according to nuclear scientists, or nuclear agencies. You can read them. We looked over them earlier. Carlos, thanks for the $4.99. IDF doesn't he mean IOF/S? Nice one. Right.
Middle East stability for the third, fourth, fifth time since October 7. Many in Washington are counting on Iranian restraint to prevent spiraling bloodshed across the region. And there is, of course, serious reason to doubt Tehran. Key context in the moment. Netanyahu demonstrated lack of concern for Israeli civilian life. The U.S. under both Biden and Trump declining to use its huge leverage to force restraint from Tel Aviv. Make or break moment for a new nuclear deal Israel opposes is in less than a month. Oh yeah, I saw this list. Look. 1992, Iran is 3 to 5 years from nuclear capability. 1993, Iran is pursuing nuclear close to capability. Iran 3 to 5 years from in 1995. 1996, Iran's nuclear acquisition could be catastrophic. Deadline extremely close. Iran's nuclear program, a global threat. Iran aggressively pursuing nuclear weapons. Since 1992, Israel has released
It's such a childish way of looking at it. It does not depend on who said it and how many people agree with it. Just because you can find some shitters, like maybe, I don't know if this is like Israeli prime ministers or people like, but surely it matters if, it matters who says it and at the same time and what evidence they pose, not just that there are articles about it with unspecified authors and levels of consensus, although it's fucking childish.
Single year, Israel has released another statement about Iran being 5 seconds away from having a nuke. Iran is days away. Iran days away from enriching uranium for a bomb. And of course,
it's also
today,
the fact that Israel, like, they literally have assassinated nuclear scientists in the past, and they constantly set back their trajectory. So that would make sense that if they're close at one point, but then they assassinate like 5 people and bomb a site, then obviously that sets it back. Like that's not even logically inconsistent. It might not even be false, but
they struck Tehran, residential buildings, an apartment building in Tehran was torn in half as a result of Israeli missile strike. No word on the casualties yet. This is a direct attack at civilians. Elant News says among the targets of the Israeli attacks in Iran are senior Iranian figures within the Iranian regime. They struck Tehran in a densely populated civilian area. And clearly, I mean, they used some imprecise and some more precise weapons targeting capabilities. Here is one of the examples of the more precise ones that like blows up an entire apartment, just the apartment itself. Still obviously very dangerous for everyone else involved as well. And the reality of the matter is, if Iran were to do the exact same thing, think about it. Imagine Iran attacking Tel Aviv and blowing up an entire apartment in the middle of Tel Aviv and killing an Israeli official and their families. Like, imagine what that would look like. Imagine what...
It would be kind of refreshing, really. If a country that... Like, say if Syria did it, right? Because Israel's got no fucking good reason to be in Syria still, right? So if Syria decided to defend themselves and they actually used targeting of that precision, bro, would you give a fuck? Not really. Give it a pop. Why not? Hello.
Hello. I would say it'd be refreshing for people like me and you. We know exactly how Israel would betray the attack still.
Yeah, they'd fucking soy out. I know. But they'd be, again, it's like if Israel attack, again, because Israel's aggressing on Syrian territory right now, they don't have a right to be there. They're not facing a substantial enough threat to justify their actions. Yeah, if Jelani just found a fucking drone and like lobbed it into an apartment where like...
With like a fucking prime minister is, I don't know, fucking whatever guy. But still, you understand that like majority of Israel will call this a terror attack still.
Yeah, I'm sure they would, yeah.
Yeah, because to them a terror attack is from Muslims. That's very much the average opinion. From a Muslim, it's a fucking terror attack.
Apart from that guy, who's that dude? Jonathan Conricus, the big massive face guy, the guy with the giant head. He was on Pierce.
That guy.
I need to find the quote.
It looks like that actor from fucking the show Lucifer.
Where is was it the one where they were talking about the pagers?
Hold on, I'm gonna send you a picture and tell me if he looks like this guy. Like maybe the uglier version of this guy.
I need to find the one where he was talking about the pager strike. Pager.
Here, tell me he doesn't look like this.
Hang on.
Is this the guy you're talking about?
1 second. Is this the pager? Where's the fucking pager debate? Was it 8 months ago, 9 months ago, 10 months? September 18th. It must be this one. Pager. Yeah. Okay. Is it here? No, where is he?
I know the guy you're talking about.
I think it's
trying
here.
To get the clip where he was calling the...
Is it when he's on a panel?
Move now to this other
huge
story
trying to get the clip where
in
he
the last
was
24 hours.
talking about the pager attack. Now, while someone else was saying it's a terror attack.
Yeah, hang on. Where's the share screen? Let's watch this bit. Holy shit. I think it's here. Is he getting interviewed by himself?
Currently rocking
Lebanon. I'm joined in the studio by the former IDF spokesman, Jonathan Conricus. We'll still have Candice Owens with them. Hopefully we'll get Cenk Uygur back from wherever he was beamed just now. No conspiracy theories here. We think he just lost connection. Jonathan, presumably Israel did this.
Presumably, yes. I would say that is very reasonable to assess.
And it is one of the more outlandish things that I've ever seen executed. I mean, just purely from an operational point of view, staggeringly successful. They seem to have infiltrated these new devices that were being handed to Hezbollah at the instigation of their leadership because they thought mobile phones, ironically, were more dangerous, more susceptible to this. So they had these pages which all simultaneously were triggered and went off, and people have died, many people have been wounded and so on. Today it's carried on in another phase. You're even seeing apparently solar panels on people's homes have been apparently exploding. You're also seeing other electronic devices exploding with people. It appears to have been very targeted, but as with all these things, a lot of innocent people are getting caught up in it too.
You know, there are conversations that you and I have made, and I'm sure that we will have, about innocent people getting caught up in the unfortunate situation of war and warfare, where Israel is defending itself against terrorist armies, Iranian proxies around it, which I think we should mention have been attacking Israel for almost a year, firing rockets at our civilians and abducting our people. And I think that most of the time we could have a debate about how many are wounded. In this case, I don't think that you have any better example in modern warfare of a more surgical and precise attack against combatants and combatants only. And frankly, I find it amazing. I've been answering people on X for the last few hours since I tweeted about it, claiming that this was not a surgical and not an attack that affected civilians. And I think it's ridiculous.
Well, because you are seeing civilians caught up in it. They are getting hit.
Relatively speaking, to the amount of enemy combatants.
It would be illegal if civilians were getting booby-trapped in this operation. That is actually illegal.
Is it this one?
You can't booby-trap devices where civilians may get
pause
killed or
for a
wounded.
second?
Yeah.
To be fair, these people on like fucking X or whatnot, they don't wait for information to come out to decide it was surgical or not. They just immediately say it was like innocent civilian caught up in it without even knowing. Because they hear about one death, right? And then they start assuming that the rest are gonna be.
Yeah, he's obviously in a fucking jerk reaction. This is like day one.
Because remember, as soon as we heard about the deaths of soldiers, we have already heard about children getting killed by the pages. Remember?
Yep.
We already heard about the children before any soldiers. It's like the same fucking. They don't wait for other information to come out.
Where is it that he was asked about?
Have access to information that is pushed from headquarters, and there are people of military importance. In legal speak, that's military necessity. These are people that.
What would you have said if they'd done it to Israel?
If they would have done it, if they would have targeted military personnel, fair game.
Really?
Of course.
Okay, now a question. Oh no, hold on. Question. Why do Israelis still call like a fucking knife attack on a soldier a terror attack then?
They would probably call it that because the force that's doing it is doing like what you would call. There's like two ways that you justify whether or not a military act is moral, right? One is the method. So targeting a soldier is clearly fair game, but it would also be the goal. So it's like, why are they doing it? Like, what are they hoping to achieve from it? Because if the achievement, if it's like a terrorist who just wants to do it to stir up some fucking shit or to like weaken Israel or to make some civilians flee the country or whatever the fuck, that's like a bit different, right? So you have to have your military goal as well. Or they would call it that because it's like
asking you. Huh? I'm not asking what you think. I'm asking what majority of Israelis, like in the news, it's called the terror attack. Israelis call it the terror attack. Almost everybody in like Israel would call it a terror attack, and it is an attack on a soldier. Because like this is why like I just flat out say it's a terror attack because it's from a terror group. Because you know most of the time Hamas claims them, or it's a terror attack because it involves attacking civilians for political gain.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's coming from a terror group on soldiers, people still call it a terror attack because it's a terrorist group doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I don't think it should be called a terrorist attack. But yeah, I don't know. You can still have issues with it because obviously it's like if they disguise themselves as a civilian to get close,
they
and
always
stab them.
Obviously, they're never gonna get to a soldier unless they disguise themselves.
I know, right? Yeah. So there's like you can accuse them of like perfidy. And
but then again, they disguised bombs as pagers. So listen.
Yeah, the pagers were military equipment. That's the difference, right?
Of course, yeah. But the knife in his pocket that didn't check.
Okay.
Was a military equipment.
If a fucking Arab dude sells exploding toasters to Mossad,
dude, I wonder if they eat toast enough for that to be effective.
Or like exploding refrigerator, an exploding water cooler. And then they blow it up when they're chatting bullshit at the water cooler, right? It'd be kind of like that.
Yeah, I understand. But it would still be called a terror attack in Israel. I just know it would be. Because like there's probably this is how I view it and how Israelis probably view it, is like if it's coming from Palestinians onto Israelis, it is like 99% gonna be called a terror attack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because they just use the term very broadly, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I'm gonna
Alright.
finish this hate watch.
Fucking, by the way, someone said a good point about what Hassan is doing. Is like he's doing exactly what Israelis do about the famine in Gaza.
Yeah, in what way?
Yeah, and like, oh, they've been saying there's a famine, it's since like fucking forever.
Oh yeah, and that means it can never happen, right? Yeah.
It can never happen. Just like what Hassan is doing now about the fucking nuke shit.
Yeah. Rip. Okay.
Kind of chaos would unfold in that process. And of course, as always, as is the case when the manufacturing consent machine has to kick into high gear, notice how Naftali Bennett is on immediately. Like whether Israel is attacked or whether Israel is doing the attacking, and in usual instances is Israel doing the attacking, we immediately go to an Israeli official for the contextualization of why this attack was a necessity. And why this attack was actually at the behest of defending Israel. One of the targets per foreign sources, nuclear scientists.
Jim, what do you make sure? Well, it's significant that they are striking not just missile sites as they did.
They love killing nuclear scientists. Israel's favorite thing to do is kill Iranian academics. After killing children, that's Israel's second favorite thing to do, is to assassinate Iranian nuclear scientists. Breaking: Israel has detected missile launches from Iran. There's
academics
chatters in Tehran and Iran saying that they're hearing that there is potentially some retaliatory strikes coming.
Call it intellectuals.
War with Iran. The defense establishment detects launches towards Israel. Explosions reported in towns in Fordo, Iran's major nuclear. Wait, really? So they're targeting nuclear facilities and nuclear scientists and potentially like military.
Breaking news. Wow. Netanyahu says he gave order to take out Iran's nuclear program in November 2024. Oh, so it's been in the making for a little bit. How do they think they can do it though? What's the expectation? It was after the assassination of Nasrallah. It was clear to him that Iran would rush toward the bomb once its proxy axis was shattered by Israel. I wonder if they're going to release documents on that, because they do have a lot of documents that they raided earlier in the year. But
command, is this very different from previous missile exchanges between the two? I mean, it's larger. Israel has never directly struck Iran with this level of intensity since this last skirmish, since like post October 7. They have struck Iran before, but this is the largest premeditated escalation coming from Israel beyond like striking an Iranian embassy compound in Syria. Senior Israeli official, high probability that Iran's chief of staff was eliminated. Israel has also canceled school and all non-essential.
If Iran makes the bomb, do you think it's being sent right to Israel? I have no idea. More likely not, but the problem is that like if you have a regime that states their intent to destroy the country and has done for decades, I don't know if I'd blame people for not wanting to take that risk.
Hold on, you think they won't bomb Israel immediately if they get a fucking nuclear bomb?
Like it doesn't matter if they would or wouldn't. It's the fact that there's a chance they would, and why would you take that chance?
The chance like is probably larger for me than it is for you, because they get to take out Sunnis and Jews. That's like a 2-for-1 combo, bro. Like there's like only 300 Shias here. They don't give a fuck about them.
Wow.
They're definitely taking that fucking chance. The only thing they would probably not do it for is because the Al-Aqsa Mosque, if they damage it in the strike, they would have the entire Muslim world, even Shias, turn on them.
Well, rip.
So that's probably the only thing. Maybe Israel should do the Golden Dome defense. Just build a bunch of Al-Aqsa Mosque all over Israel.
How has this affected you on the home front right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Fucking woke up at 3 a.m. and all my nephews and nieces are in my room. Because, my room's the bunker, because my parents knew I wouldn't leave my PC if we have to go into a shelter.
Oh.
So they just made my room the bunker.
Shit. And they, and what? Has anything else happened? I've heard people are like panic buying in the shops and there's like...
my parents, my parents aren't really panicking, or no one I know is panicking. My brother was like panicking. He's like, I basically have my second computer monitoring our internet service cores and cables, and seeing if there's any fucking damage to them, if anything happens. That's what he's worried about mostly. But the people freaked out because they were sending like wrong warnings. They sent like a fucking earthquake warning.
Interesting.
Yeah, they sent an earthquake warning before anyone knew anything, and I saw it. I was like, I don't feel it. I'm gonna go back to bed. And then my brother knocks on my room. He's like, open up. I'm like, why? And then I see his entire family. He's like, yeah, Israel striked Iran, and we're just bracing in case something happens.
Oh shit.
So yeah, they slept in my room that night. It do be crazy. Although my sister's stuck in Italy now, so she has to go through Egypt and then drive to Israel to get back home.
Whoa. Okay. Well.
All right.
Good luck. So, wait, are the alarms going off in your town then? They would be, right?
No alarms went off in my town last night. We did get like a national alarm on our phones, like a warning, like take extreme caution or some shit. Also, schools are suspended for the time being.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a good thing for me. I don't have to fucking travel to another city to teach.
Yeah. Do you support the strikes? Do you feel like you're being shielded against nuclear fucking holocaust?
Listen, as long as they're not taking out innocent people in the process, why not? Fuck Iran. Iran's more evil than Israel in my eyes.
Whoa. Okay.
What do you mean, whoa? It's absolutely true. Iran would fucking...
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen... Wait, is there even Sunni minorities in Iran?
Not that I know of.
Exactly.
Probably like 2% of the population, if anything, or maybe less.
Yeah, and how are they treated? I heard they're treated like fucking shit.
Are they?
I heard they're treated worse than the Jews. Well, it was a claim by some Sunni guy that hates Shia, so it's probably not true.
They make up almost 10% of the population.
Really? I need
5 to 10%.
I need to see how they treat Sunnis in Iran. If they treat them worse than... I highly doubt they treat them better than like how Israel treats us. There's no way. Like Shias have Iranian Shias have like some insane hatred for Sunnis.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's not like we like them either. Don't worry.
That'd be an interesting research process. Apparently, all the drones were intercepted, so you've survived wave one.
Wave one. Also, the first thing my brother told me to do is research if Iran has any F-35s.
Yeah.
I was like, I highly doubt anyone other than America and Israel has F-35s.
Yeah, apparently, Jordan's intercepted quite a lot of them. They've intercepted quite a few of the drones.
No, Afro, don't fucking make claims you don't know or understand. Yeah, I heard Jordan intercepted. If you look in my server, you could probably see Sundowner. I added him telling him to wake up just in case because he's in the way. He said, I'm on my roof naked waiting. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you naked?
Hell yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me see what he exactly said, Sundowner.
Sounds like something you would say.
I am on my rooftop, naked, waiting to see some shit. Nothing so far. That is exactly what he said.
Okay.
It's Sundowner. Anyway,
catching them in the sky. Okay.
Right. You enjoy your propaganda slap.
Will do. Take care.
You too.
Activity, knowing full well that they were going to hit Iran and then Iran was going to retaliate. And now more American tax dollars struck Iran. American munitions struck Iran. Now more American tax dollars and American defensive capabilities will defend Israel because Iran will understandably retaliate. So that's where we're at. Secretary Rubio is too busy gargling Benjamin Netanyahu and the entire Israeli war cabinet's dick saying tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear: Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Bullshit. Israel does not do anything without America's go-ahead. Israel is America's weapon to wield in the region. Make no mistake. This is peaceful Dawn. This is peaceful Donnie saying, go ahead, strike Iran. Maybe it'll give us a better position in the nuclear agreement. It is bullshit. America offers additional targeting capabilities that Israel...
I wouldn't put it past Trump to have been saying this in a non-verbal way. Like, the fact that he kept that maximalist demand on Iran with the 60-day warning, even though the 60 days run out when they're supposed to be going to Oman, which is weird. Like, it's... I think Trump maybe expected that, but he just didn't want to sign off on it because he thought it's inevitable anyway. Maybe. Maybe. But it is conspiracy theory, but, you know. Footage shared on social media shows large explosions at an Iranian facility near Tabriz following airstrikes. Holy fuck, that's a fat bomb. Okay.
Might not have. America already gives the weapons. America already gives the munitions. And America's defensive shield against Iranian retaliation is what gives Israel the confidence to behave this way and put the lives of their entire population in danger. So for all the Israeli chatters in here right now, remember that. I'm sure you're already aware of it, but remember that. Tell your parents, tell your neighbors. It is Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government's own personal ambition and America's go-ahead and America's targeting that has allowed this to happen.
Tell your neighbors. I just want to imagine Hassan's fans like knocking on the doors of their neighbors to be like, I hope you're aware. By the way, here's my favorite flag, the Hezbollah flag. Listen, I hope you're aware that what you're seeing on the news is not but manufactured consent for the American aggression against Israel carried out by their puppets in the Israeli state. Oh, God.
So whatever kind of retaliation that comes from Iran as an act of understandable self-defense, it will literally happen because America and the Israeli government...
Also, wow, huge breaking news chat. 2K viewers. We hit 2K viewers. Hey, 2K viewers. Like the stream, guys. Like the stream. Don't forget the goal as well, the super chat goal. We are 5 off. 5 out of 20. 45 minutes. But if you don't have any money because you're a fucking degenerate and you should be getting a job, mostly to fund my stream, like the stream, doesn't cost you anything.
Government does not give a fuck about anyone. Clearly, America cares more about its own soldiers, at least, and its own like embassy staffers and shit, because they knew this was going to happen. Clearly, they've been planning this. This kind of a military action doesn't happen overnight. It obviously is planned ahead of time. That's precisely the reason why, suspiciously, America was moving its embassy personnel.
You don't even read the super chats. I'll read them when we hit the goal, dipshit. I love you.
Away from Kuwait, Bahrain, and also moving its troop positions away. Israel is doing this with America's go-ahead, with America's knowledge. Make no f***ing mistake. Don't let anybody tell you like, oh, Israel controls America. That's not the truth. Israel's not behaving as a separate entity here. Operation expected, according to Manny Fabian, the Israeli military expects this operation against Iran's nuclear program and long-range missile capabilities to last for several days. The IDF is preparing for heavy fire from Iran in response to its airstrikes tonight. At the end of the operation, there will be no nuclear threat. We are in the window of strategic opportunities. We have to reach the point of no return, and there is no choice but to act now, IDF officials say. It's suicidal. It's just suicide. Israel is a suicidal, genocidal, fascist country. Fascism is a death cult. Israel will literally bring everyone down with it. Either it will complete its genocide in the region, directed by the American government, or it will bring everyone down with it. Truly a cancerous government. CNN also confirming.
I don't know how so much of his rhetoric is like just fucking copy pasted from Iran. Like Israel's got no agency. They don't act beyond the mandate of the United States. They're directed by the United States to do like big Satan, little Satan. Cancerous he's like literally it's just all Ayatollah fucking language. It's all Iranian government language. It's so fucking weird. Are you a socialist or an Islamic fundamentalist? Like pick your side. Jesus.
Lieberman reports that the sources say this is not going to be a one-day attack. It's expected to last several days. First statement from the Trump admin emphasized the lack of U.S. involvement. America's such pussy cowards, by the way. The American government is such cowardly little dogs, for the record. They are so weak. They're such pieces of shit. First, they attack some of the most vulnerable internally. Some of the most vulnerable citizens in this country, some of the most vulnerable people living on U.S. soil, undocumented migrants. They try to fucking sick the goddamn military on people who understandably don't want their neighbors to be fucking blackbagged and kidnapped, taken away from their families, away from their places of business. Then they fucking turn around and do this pussy ass bullshit like, oh, we're not involved. you mean we're not involved? Of course we're involved. There is no world where Israel operates like this. Because guess what? If you didn't like what Israel was doing, you would tell them to stop. You would come out. You wouldn't even have to come out. You would just make one phone call. Be like, what are you talking about? You're going to strike Iran. Get the out of here. If you are Iran in the situation, and you have seen, as every other regional actor has seen, that Israel only responds to violent retaliation that actually causes them to second guess how restrained they must be and how little they must do in retaliation, you have to retaliate. Like, from their perspective, they leave no choice but violent retaliation. Can you explain why the U.S. is so insistent on claiming not to be involved? Feels like unnecessary PR when you make the point that the U.S. is, of course, involved. The reason why they're saying that is because I think they don't want Iran to attack American bases and, like, I don't know, hurt America's logistical capabilities in the region. Or if Iran does attack American bases, then America can say, see, they attacked us without us attacking them. And then if Iran does actually end up attacking American bases, they go, oh, well, we have no choice but to join the war. They want the attack, but they know the voting populace doesn't want here at home. It's performative for both defense and electoral reasons. Yeah, that's the other side of it as well, because I believe there is it is one of the least favorable positions that any party could engage in. Americans, widely, at least until this, what is it, the military task force, the Middle Eastern task force kicks into high gear and starts manufacturing consent, the American appetite for going to war with Iran is unimaginably low. Unimaginably low, for understandable reasons. Why the f would anybody want to go and die for Israel's genocidal campaign? Are you out of your f***ing mind? Okay, would you be down?
When are the WoW streams? Thanks for $50, Tergoron. I really appreciate that. Well, I mean, if I'm forced to, you know, I'm forced to. Don't worry. We will finish the war coverage, and then we will probably continue it with some reacts in the corner while we game. Okay, chill. Don't worry. Okay, I know you guys all came here. I know that 2,000 people here really just to watch me at my final stretch to level 60. Finally, we'll see. I might die again. Who knows? But
for that, do you think that's good?
You think Israel responds to violence by chilling out? Yeah, it's bro. He's just mad. He's like incoherent fucking soy raging. It's like the impotent rage, because obviously, like, Hassan loves when you look at the rhetoric that he's employing here, it is it's almost identical to that of the Iranian regime. It's like he's quoting fucking Vilayat al-Faqih, like, almost fucking directly when he's talking about, again, you just change out Jews for Israeli and that's it, right? If the Muslims had acted in accordance with his command and after forming a government made the necessary extensive preparations to be in a state of full readiness for war, a handful of Jews would have never dared to occupy our lands and burn and destroy the Masjid al-Aqsa without the people being capable of making an immediate response. All this has resulted from the failure of the Muslims to fulfill their duty of executing God's laws, setting up a righteous, respectable government. If the rulers of the Muslim countries truly represented the believers and enacted God's ordinances, they would set aside their petty differences, abandon their subversive and diversive activities. Yeah, then a handful of wretched Jews, brackets, the agents of America, Britain, and other foreign powers, just turn it into Israelis or Zionists and you're good, right? The agents of America and Britain. It's that same thing again, even though the Israelis and the Jews and...
Calling it now. Israel strikes Lonabox when he reaches level 58 capabilities.
Damn, thanks to $15, Jane Sox. Propaganda, okay? Propaganda. They've been saying I'm at level 50, I'm close to level 58 capabilities for weeks now. They've been saying it for months. That means it's not true. Fuck. Ignore all the setbacks. That's the logic, isn't it? Because again, obviously Israel has shown so many times that they frustrate American presidents, that they act beyond what American presidents would like them to do, that they just completely oppose U.S. interests sometimes, but also that, like, again, in the 48 War, they were not backed by either of these groups. They were doing it on their own. In the Six-Day War, well, in the 50s, they kind of had British support, but then they kind of like largely fell away from that, and then U.S. support didn't really become a big thing until like Yom Kippur. So it's dumb, silly. But yeah, they believe the same shit. I wonder, do they mention cancerous entity here or is it elsewhere? No, it's not here, but it is in Al-Houthi's sermons and in Nasrallah's speeches. Where is Nasrallah? Yeah, like again, the way that he says this, Israel will remain in our minds and plans an illegitimate, illegal, aberrant and cancerous entity, which we therefore cannot exercise. We will work with others to combat normalization. Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same. The Greater Israel Plan. They all believe in the same shit. They all believe the same shit. It's so fucking weird. They talk about how Israel would be nothing without the United States and all this. Like, yeah, he's a simp. So obviously he's just very upset at watching his favorite, the heart of the axis of resistance, getting the absolute shit kicked out of it, and it makes him really, really sad. He's just very upset. Okay. He's crashing out. He's definitely got mental health issues, therapy, obsessed, rent-free, derangement syndrome, clinical, etc. Anyway, I'm only halfway through. Fuck that waste of time. No. Donos. Knowledge DH, thanks for the 5 Australian. Why did he give Russia so many outs when talking about Ukraine, but refuses to give any nuance for talking about Israel? Because Russia is an enemy of the West, and we like those. JS, thanks for the 10 Swedish. Sam Main, thanks for the £5. Hassan is so gross. Raiders Cat, thanks for the tier 1 sub. 19 months of being a Mr. Box. Damn, that's a long time. 19 months, damn. Vazaraka, thanks for the $5. Churro Bandit, thanks for the $9.99. Here's to listening to you at work. Oh, that's so kind of you. And Cello, thanks for the $5 as a prayer for the end of the WoW arc. Well, good luck with that. Tergaron, thanks for the tier 2 sub. That's very generous of you. Oh, on top of the $50. On top of the $50. Shit. Sophie, thanks for the €2.49. Israeli chatters in here. Hassan is delusional. He probably has some fucking Hadash supporters in there, for sure. Slow Monkey, thanks for the 59 Norwegian. On the topic of Syria, do you have any thoughts about the new conservative dress code they implemented? It's not particularly surprising. Jelani is still like an Islamist. He still is. But he's also, much more diplomatic and cordial towards minorities. That one in particular, I don't know, bit fucking... I wouldn't support it. Does it mean he's going to go full ISIS? Probably not. Slow Monkey, Carlos already did that one. Barabbas, thanks to $2, did that one. Uber, thanks to $5. I'm excited to see the new Greater Israel maps on Twitter. What, we're going to extend to Iran now. Warmaster Irony, thanks to the $4.99. This is like the 6-day war if nothing ever happens because one side's military commanders are gone. I was seething over Israel's crazy overstep. Okay. Daywalker, thanks to the $5 for the WSJ fund. Hell yeah. We'll buy it. We'll buy it out. No time. YOLO Swag, thanks for the $9.99. Why would Biden do this? Good memes, good memes. Dickie J, thanks for the $5. Did you react to the Israel-Palestine Jubilee that came out a couple of days ago? I did. It was cancer. Hell no. Not going back to that, ever. Barabbas, thanks to the $5. Are Netanyahu's giant ears capable of lifting him off the ground? Don't know. Good question. Fast and Bulbous, thanks to the $5. Do you think Netanyahu falls asleep to Islamophobic ASMR? Yes. Black-pilled Kiwi, thanks for the 5 New Zealand. Watch Kraut's latest video about nukes. He talked about the Swiss and how they towed the line but didn't cross into assembly. Maybe Iran was trying that. Now, I don't recall Switzerland ever having a recurring stated goal to destroy another country and funding military proxies to do it. But who knows? Barabbas, thanks to $5. Does anyone want to see a competition between Ukrainian and Israeli intelligence to see who can create the most batshit insane operations? There's a bit of leapfrogging going on between those two. I wonder if they're aware. Because I guess Ukraine is the second Jewish state, right? Zelensky. We already read those first donos. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for reaching the goal. Sam Trendy, thanks for the 2 Canadian. Israel is the coat, Yisrael Pog. Well, I couldn't possibly humor such partisan lines. Fuck that. Okay, that was a good strong goal, guys. Gives us plenty of breathing space to make a new goal. Hell yeah. No more Hassan. Fuck that. What are the updates saying? What are the live updates? Recap. I don't want that. Yes.
Question about being a YouTube mod. Can I create goals for you?
I don't think so. Can you?
I wish I could. I would make a goal to play BG3.
Oh, that's a big goal. That'd be like a 50 goal.
What's a 50 goal? Like
50 super chats. And they all have to be over $20.
Whoa, okay, what the fuck? How much money is that?
We'll see, we'll see.
$2,000, motherfucker. What the fuck?
That's for laser, okay? That's for laser. Where is the...
You're asking for $1,000 to play fucking BG13.
Seems reasonable.
Holy fucking... Bro, this is the type of greed that spoke about in the Bible.
True. Right, where is the Israeli ambassador? He's given a yap off. Okay.
The fuck? Maybe you should let's make a wager.
If
Iran strikes civilians in Israel or tries to, you have to play PG-13.
Okay, good one.
Deal?
No.
Deal.
It's already happening. It's already happening after WoW. Okay, chill.
Yeah, right. That's if you don't die.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Wow. Okay. I usually say goodbye before you say take care, buddy.
I'm trying to keep the fucking flow. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Fuck you and your flow. Right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Good morning. Last night, the State of Israel launched a preemptive operation against Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile infrastructure.
Wow.
Dozens of sites across Iran were struck with precision, and many senior terrorists in the IRGC were eliminated. This was a calculated and necessary action, based on clear intelligence and carried out in response to an escalating existential threat. For years, the Iranian regime has funded and directed attacks against Israel through its terrorist proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Iran has fueled instability across the region, while openly declaring its intent to destroy, to eliminate the state of Israel. But in recent months, the Iranian threat took a dramatic turn. Iran advanced significantly toward nuclear weapons capabilities. Intelligence obtained by Israel revealed a secret program to develop all necessary parts of a bomb: uranium enrichment, triggering mechanisms, and warhead delivery systems. According to the latest IAEA reports, Iran now has enough material.
Does he kind of sound like Israeli Arnold Schwarzenegger?
He does kind of sound like if you got AI to design an Israeli. He does sound it's fucking unbelievable. It's like, you know, the AI glitches that they do with like human bodies and shit. It's done that, but with his voice. But thanks for the $10, David.
For multiple nuclear weapons and has moved dangerously close to operational capability. What's more, Israel uncovered clear evidence that the Iranian regime was planning a surprise attack in coordination with their proxies. They had planned to invade from all sides, with thousands of terrorists and thousands of projectiles. As you know, October 7 was a deeply painful and traumatic day for all of us. But the danger we confronted last night was of a different magnitude. A surprise attack with a nuclear strike, which Iran was preparing for, would have been terminal. Israel could not and would not wait for that moment to arrive. The decision to act last night was not made lightly. It followed repeated violations by the Iranian regime, continued deception, and an absence of meaningful international consequences. Meanwhile, the Secretary General has made last night a statement expressing concern over our operation. But I must ask, where was the Secretary General when Iran spent years arming itself while vowing to wipe Israel off the map? Where was his voice when Iran rained hundreds of missiles and drones on our civilians? His silence in the face of Iran's constant aggression has been deafening. We acted to protect our citizens. We acted to prevent a threat that would endanger not only Israel, but the entire world. We will not sit quietly while our people are targeted. Not again, not ever. Empty words will not stop Iran. Israel will.
Okay, this guy is not saying all that much. We do have a response, okay? Iran has responded. Remember what I said? The better the military, the worse the propaganda, okay? The inverse is also true. Iran has responded with a content nuke, okay? Oh my god. I just love the inverse ratio between propaganda quality and the quality of the actual military. The Iranian revenge is underway. Oh no. Oh no. Fuck's sake. Sam Trendy, thanks for, Spuds, thanks for the $2. Sev rules. True. Lana, thanks for the £5. You educate me fee. Oh, that's so cute. Fast and Bulbous, thanks for the $2. The Ayatollah going to call CPS on Netanyahu. Okay. Israeli spy agency shows how they attacked Iran from within. CNN, thank you.
Used 200 jets to attack more than 100 targets in Iran.
Thank you for the volume,
this
CNN.
video that shows US-made fighter jets involved
US-made.
in the airstrikes. F-35 jets made by Lockheed Martin are the most modern in Israel's fleet, according to the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Let me bring in for you Oren Lieberman, who is standing by in Jerusalem. Yasmin El-Gamal is a former Middle East advisor to the Pentagon, also with us. Oren, let me start with you. Two things I want to talk about. Firstly, those jets, and to a degree, the release of those images, some are saying, sort of ties the US very much into, behind the scenes at least, involvement, as it were, in these attacks, although, you know, we have had an official statement from the Secretary of State saying there has been no involvement, specific involvement. Secondly, you got some reporting about how Mossad pulled this off, what we're seeing here. Smuggling, including of weapons, into Iran. So let's just take on those. Let's start with this video. Just how much did it take for Mossad to be on the ground smuggling weapons into Iran ahead of these attacks?
It's an incredible operation, and one that an Israeli security source said was long in the planning. Not a specific timeline on that, but I think it's easy to look at this and say this is months, if not potentially much longer than that. I'll remind you that we have seen Israel do something in this vein before when it came to the assassination of chief nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh back in, I believe it was November 2020, with what Iranian state media said was a remote-controlled gun that detected him and fired upon him while he was in a bulletproof vehicle in a secure convoy. So Israel has, at least in theory, shown the capability to carry out something like this, but this is on a much, much larger scale. That security source saying there were Israeli commando teams smuggling weapons in, explosive drones that targeted surface-to-air missiles, ballistic missiles, missile launchers that were mounted on vehicles, and all of that was effectively set off at the same time as the Israeli Air Force fighter jets were approaching to carry out this massive first wave of strikes that we have seen, and then, of course, we have seen more strikes. So to carry out an operation like this requires
more hype. More hype. Who's this guy? I don't know who he is, but he's like definitely an IRGC duder, simp. We will level Tel Aviv and Haifa to the ground. Interesting.
حمله نظامی میکنن اما به نظرم خودشون هم میدانند و اگر نمیدانند بدانند که اگر غلطی از اونها سر بزند جمهوری اسلامی تل آویو و حیفا رو با خاک یکسان خواهد کرد.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Tremendous amount of planning and confidence. And it's also worth pointing out that after the assassination of the chief Iranian nuclear scientist, after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, after the stealing of the Iranian nuclear archive, Iran seems completely unable to stop the Mossad from pretty much operating Iran like it's the Mossad's backyard.
Yep. And in the past, of course, they might have relied on Hezbollah in Lebanon, but as we were showing those images to retaliate, but as we were showing those images, I am reminded of Israel's undercover operation, of course, in September to take out the command and control of Hezbollah with beepers, which has sort of started off this cascade of fragility, as it were, for Iran through its through the sort of defanging of its proxies around the region. And talking to sources around the region today, they are saying that the decapitation, as it were, of this command and control in Iran is, you know, some X times what Israel was able to achieve with Hezbollah. Before I bring in Yasmin, I do just want you to speak to the assets that were taken out, the targets that Israel had in Iran today at the very highest level. Just speak to those, if you will.
It's absolutely remarkable. It's not just the Natanz nuclear facility, Iran's primary nuclear enrichment facility. It's decapitating the top of Iran's military structure, its military leadership, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and then going after the top levels of their nuclear officials. That potentially, and this is what we're seeing from here, may have delayed or effectively made it more difficult for Iran to retaliate. All we've seen so far is about 100 drones, and certainly that's significant, but none of them got towards Israeli airspace, at least not from what we have seen to this point. Israel is anticipating a much larger response from ballistic missiles, except the head of the IRGC Air Force, who is in charge of the ballistic missiles, was also killed in this attack. The list of top military leaders in Iran that have been killed as part of this by Israel is growing longer and longer as we learn more about what happened here. They have truly decapitated the command and control of...
This is definitely the big guy, Hossein Salami. He's definitely the biggest name that they've managed to get here.
Iran's military leadership.
For more on this, we're joined now by the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, General...
Oh, it's him. We like him. He's all right. David for Games this morning. Good one.
Wesley Clark. He's also the founder of Renew America Together. General Clark, as usual, thanks very much for joining us. Let's start with your reaction to these Israeli strikes against various targets, military and nuclear, other targets in Iran. How significant are they?
I think it's a very significant attack. I think the methods are innovative. They actually had elements on the ground inside Iran which were able to go after the air defense and some of the retaliatory systems. And so they had some additional assurance. The strikes, 200 aircraft, big strikes. Now, did it take out the nuclear? Probably not.
Probably not.
So as they're saying, they're going to go back in again and again and again. And my guess would be they're going to have to put people on the ground to go into those sites and really verify that they've been taken out. And Wolf, I think, I think this is a major turning point in the region. Look, for over 40 years, you've had a regime committed to the destruction of a people and a civilization. And this should be the end of it. And so I know there's talk about, is it going to be a regime change or not? I think there's a high likelihood that it will be regime change. And I think certainly if I were in the Israelis' position, I'd be pushing for it.
Regime change in Iran, that's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. I
was just going to say, General, these Israeli strikes clearly have killed some of the most powerful officials in Iran, including their highest-ranking military officer and the head of its elite Revolutionary Guard. How big of a blow is this to Iran, and could it affect Iran's response?
It is a big blow. It will, and probably already has, affected the response. But Wolf, so many of my friends who have connections with Iran have said that the Iranian people are waiting for a strike like this to overthrow the regime. So I think the consequences here go beyond the nuclear.
Well, we'll see if that actually happens. Israeli officials are saying their Mossad intelligence agents smuggled precision weapons and drones into Iran in the days just ahead of this attack. And this is just weeks after we saw...
Quds commander was just confirmed dead. Uh-oh. Quds force commander. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ismail Khani eliminated in strikes. Okay. Iranian sources told the New York Times. RIP. Falling like flies, man.
Ukraine actually deploy a similar strategy as they struck key targets in Russia with drones that have been smuggled inside Russia. Give us a sense how this new drone warfare that's unfolding is reshaping the battlefield.
Well, it's certainly changing the ability to strike in depth. Previous to this, most military theorists looked at war as a linear process. You add space to it as another dimension, of course. But the idea that you would go in peacetime and really prepare the battlefield in depth with the force...
What's the civilian damage looking like? We don't know. Because the only thing that you hear about are big names and then just total count, but you don't hear small names, right? So like soldiers or lower level commanders. The big names, I think they've got like, what, 5 or 10? 10 probably. And then total deaths, I think, is like 75, 300 injured. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine since they've hit apartments, there will be family members who were killed, like 100%. Or people in other flats, maybe.
That could strike, not just with sabotage and blowing up bridges, but with actual kinetic effect on enemy forces.
Loner, I'm scared.
That's what the Ukrainians did. That's apparently what the Israelis have done.
Don't be scared, okay? Hassan will be fine. Send him your thoughts and prayers.
It certainly was what the Soviets wanted to have done should they ever have attacked NATO. They would have had their forces inside Germany before the balloon ever went up, so to speak. And so I think all the countries of the West now have to recognize what the difference is now in the depth of the battlefield. You have to have what we called rear area security, much more intensively managed and resourced than we have ever anticipated.
You know, it's interesting. Some experts have suggested to me that Israel's very successful decision to take out the leadership of various Iranian proxy organizations like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas, destroy the top leadership of Hamas, destroy the top leadership of Hezbollah, destroy the top leadership of various pro-Iranian proxy groups in Syria, for example, before the fall of Bashar al-Assad. The Israelis are now trying to do exactly the same thing to the Iranian regime as they did to their proxies, whether in Lebanon or Gaza or Syria. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, and I think it's all part of a long-term plan. I think really that October 7th really let loose the so-called dogs of war in the region. And Israel, which had been suffering and worrying about this Iranian nuclear threat, the threat of Hezbollah, the threat of Hamas, the arc of resistance, so to speak, the Houthis, all of that just unfolded in such a way at such a time with the right Israeli leadership that there's a sense of, in Israel, of taking decisive action. Not about, oh, let's cap the escalation. Not about, oh, we don't want a regional war. For Israel, as your ambassador just said, it is a matter of survival of a people. And they, I think, under Bibi Netanyahu, want to finish the job.
Whoa. Well, shit. Let's go. What else do we have? What else do we even have? Oh, I have a caller. We have, I think this is an Iranian, actually. Hello, Changal. Aren't Iran easy to beat? No, not really. Hello, how's it going?
What's up? Nice talking with you again.
Yeah, and yourself. Just to remind everyone, or anyone who didn't see the first time, do you want to introduce yourself to the chat?
Yes, I'm an Iranian living in Iran, and I'm just talking to you right now.
Yeah. Wait, living in Iran, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Currently, yes.
Well, how are you feeling about everything?
Yeah, it's been a very eventful day, wasn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
Yes. There was a huge boom everywhere at around 4 or 5 in the morning, and people got woken up. And apparently, this happened in multiple cities, not just where I live. And it was crazy. Like, I couldn't believe, like, so I didn't wake up myself, but I had family members calling me, and I woke up at my normal hour at 8 a.m. or something, and then I suddenly saw everyone messaging me. I opened the newspaper here, and they were just like taunting, and they were like they were basically taunting, and I didn't understand what happened. So I opened a foreign newspaper, the BBC, and I saw what happened. I was like, holy shit! Like, this was unbelievable. The names you see, these are like even the Qasem Soleimani guy that got killed before. Like, he is, compared to these guys, he's like a few levels below them. Like this Bagheri, this Salami guy. These are Bagheri is, I think, in name he's in title he's the highest one. He's the leader of all the armed forces. Yeah, and it was crazy. And they did it with precision, and I think I don't know what to think about it, honestly. But yes.
Are you were you close enough to hear or feel the explosions, or are you in a different? Because I know most of this is in the west.
I was, yes, but as I said, I was asleep. But I had family members that live near me messaging me in the morning. For people here, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, they still get scared and stuff. But people understand. I think the collateral damage, the people that died, excluding the family members of these guys, because one of them that I know was killed was the Bagheri's daughter, who was a reporter. She also died. And I'm pretty sure there are others who were killed that were collateral, but from what I've seen, the collateral damage was very, very minimal. So you can see the pictures. I'm not sure how many pictures you've seen. They destroyed like just the apartment block of the targets. So they didn't even like destroy the entire buildings. And I feel sorry for the people that were the innocents that were killed, obviously. And I wish they, you know. But these were like this is a crazy attack like this. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, do they do these RGC people, does it look like, do they stay in like kind of fancy areas, or like some of them look like they were top floors, so like penthouses, or are they just in there with regular civilian flats?
They were apparently in regular civilian flats, and that's actually like, I don't understand how weak and vulnerable they were that all of them got killed. Like, this is just crazy to me. Like these are like just one level above these guys is going to be the supreme leader guy. Like there's nothing in between. Like these should be the top protected people in the country. And you know, tomorrow is the 8th, so there's also the message that the Israelis are sending, that because the October 7th attacks were also done on the 8th day, right, for the Israelis. They are also doing this a day before the 8th, and we're planning to do like a 10-kilometer propaganda tour, not tour, what do you call it? Like a demonstration.
Yeah.
For pulling people to the main street and here in Tehran. And that is also now, they have changed it to a somber kind of thing now, but that was also planned here. But yeah, I mean, for me, like these people are, the nuclear scientists maybe less, but still, most of these guys are, in my opinion, traitors to this country. These military leaders, they have all hands in the blood of the people here. One of the bigger ones that I think deserved it, as an Iranian, I think, was the Shamkhani guy. He's a very known thief, and basically he's very, very corrupt, and his sons and his family, his entire shtick is that he like basically sells the oil through, you know, unsanctioned sources, and he has profited off of that.
What was his name? Which one was that?
Shamkhani.
How do I spell that? I can't find that guy.
He's one of the 4 guys that you wrote there.
Oh, wait, I wrote him down? Oh, no.
No. One of the 4 guys that you saw on your...
Oh, on the screen.
We were just watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was his position?
I think he was just officially he was a consultant to the Supreme Leader, I think. But he used to be the leader of the IRGC, I think. Right now, he's doing like going around sanction stuff at the moment. Like that's, but his official position is not that. Yeah.
Ali Shamkhani.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a naval officer. He was a secretary of the Supreme National Security Council from 2013 to 2023. Died today, age 69.
Yeah, and he's extremely corrupt. Like he's extremely corrupt, and and I think I saw a few other names that were, because these guys who are military, like they have talked against the people, and but I don't think they have. Most of them have had like direct hand in like murdering people in the streets. I saw a few of them that had, but I have to look it up. But not the main ones. They are not like directly connected to that. But still, like, I hold them responsible. I have to look it up again.
Has there been much like information suppression happening? Because it seems like a lot of these confirmations of deaths are coming from Iranian state media, but I was just wondering how much they're trying to hide from the people in terms of panic or defeat.
They try to delay the announcement, but they have, like, I just logged in. I managed to log into Discord like 2 or 3 hours ago because the internet just got fucked today.
Okay.
Like, there no VPNs, nothing worked. But they were surprisingly forthcoming about this. This Qani guy that you said that he died, he has died before a few times as well.
Really?
Maybe he's particular. Yeah, maybe he's alive, but yeah, the other ones. It's very crazy to see that they all suddenly died. Like, you don't know how shocking it is to just hear this. These are like the main people that you see, taunting the enemy, and they are suddenly all dead. Like, that's just
yeah,
shit.
it's happened pretty fast.
It
People
tells
are
you that
talking
the
about.
only reason,
Yeah, go on.
the only reason they are not, attacking they are not basically killing the supreme leader is basically a political choice. Like, it's not they can easily do that if they have done this. It's gone.
Yeah, I was going to ask, there seems to be conflicting opinions on whether or not there are people coming out into the streets to chant against America and Israel, or if there are people who are coming out to celebrate the deaths of these people. Like, are either of those true or none of them true?
Celebrating when Raisi died, the last president who died in the helicopter crash and was eaten by the bears, by the way, he at that time people were celebrating. They were like, spreading sweets. Actual people, I mean. This time I'm not so sure, because these are military people, and people don't. They hate these guys, but it's a different kind of hatred. And also, I think the suppressive atmosphere is much more right now, because this is like actual war right now. Like, this is, and there are people chanting against America, but those are like the regime's guys. Like, that's obviously happening. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like
I don't
a small
think
crowd
people
size
are.
as well.
Yeah, I mean,
to go by.
there are many Iranians and diaspora, and that say that if Israel attacks Iran, Iranians are going to, go into the streets, and like, it's going to boost the confidence in Iranians to, protest. I'm not sure if in the short term that is true. I don't think anyone is gonna dare to do something like this, because 2 days before, am I right? Yes, 2 days before, they executed a guy who was wrongly accused of murder during the mass support protest. The police killed a 11-year-old, or was he 12? I think he was. I have to look at this up. I think he was basically 10 or 12 or something like that. They killed him in his car and in the arms of his mother, and they shot his dad for no fucking reason. And they accused the protesters of doing this, and everyone knows that's just bullshit. And they executed the guy who they were accusing this of a few days ago. And I remember going to the streets, and there were a lot of anti-riot police everywhere just because of that. And even though there is no riots happening, and now imagine after this attacks, the atmosphere is going to be much more deadly. Like, I don't think anyone is going to dare to protest against the regime right now.
Yeah. Is there any kind of fear of destabilization and what that might mean? Or, like, I guess Israel's going to keep striking for at least a few days, so
I'm not so sure if they're going to strike. I like, people say they're going to continue. I don't think they're like. First of all, what else are they going to strike? Also, it's very hard for a military, as far as I know. Like, there were 200 planes or something like that came here. I think they're waiting to see what the response is. Like, right now they are saying that they're going to retaliate, and they have said this before, but this time I think it's actually serious. Like, there's no way they're not going to retaliate right now. Like, like the last times it was also very comical that they didn't respond, but this time it's actually like there's literally no chance that these guys are not going to retaliate. And I hope that they're not going to do anything too crazy. They're not going to, I don't know, like they're not going to, what do you call it? Like you just go to the last line of what you can do. Like I hope they're not going to do anything like that. Like use dirty bombs or something, or I don't know, maybe use a nuke or something. Or maybe bomb cities. I don't think that's very out of the ordinary if they do something like that. Because last time they shot rockets at Israel, I was thinking about it. I'm not sure if they were actually targeting to kill people, if you think about it. Because they didn't manage to kill anyone, but were they even targeting to kill anyone? I'm not even that sure. If they actually start like targeting them and like start killing innocent Israelis, like a lot of them, like maybe, I don't know, like 100 or 200 people, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that the retaliation of them is going to be bloody as well, and that's going to be horrible. Like if this is going to turn into a total war, which I feel like there's no going back. I don't think there's any way this is not going to become a total war. I don't know.
Yeah. Apparently they're also striking Fordo now. Is that how you say it?
I think they have, yes. That's Fordo. That's a nuclear facility. Wow. They hit multiple of these. The reason you can see there was a map on CNN that I saw. Yeah, this one. That's and the one in Tabriz. These are all nuclear sites. The one in Natanz, that's near Qom. Yeah, and there's video of them getting struck. I don't know if you see the videos, but there are people taking videos of the actual facilities getting bombed.
Yeah,
in the morning.
I've seen them. Yeah. Someone in chat is asking, how much have you for Iranian protests? Like, how much do they differ from like what you see in Western protests? Like, obviously the stakes are a lot higher because people might die, but do you ever think about
I've never
that? Like,
been
do you ever
to
think about the differences? Yeah.
I have, yes, and I have like family members who really like to protest. You know, younger guys who. I am young myself, but even younger than me. You know, people in high school who really like to protest, and I tell them that you have to look at this not as a, protest, a romantic thing where you go, protest and you chant and you say your ideals, and maybe the police arrest you. This is like actual war. Like they are out there to kill you. And that's the reason, because the crackdowns are so bloody. That's the reason people are not, protesting more. It's not. They don't care about killing people. They shoot people in the eyes deliberately, blind them to spread fear and terrorize them. Like these guys don't fuck around. In the last protest, in '88, after the presidential election, they raped people. There were many cases of people getting raped in prison and tortured and stuff like this. And even in this last protest, they killed many people for their opinions, just for talking about their stuff on the internet. Especially at the start of the protest, they were very hands-on on killing people. But after it got out of control, they became a bit tamer, you could say. But they don't fuck around. Like they are actually like this is not a police that is trying to spread the riot or something like that. They actually are trying to kill anyone who is in their way. And the only reason they don't is because it's the backlash that it might have. They have protested before, but people here protest in universities and stuff like that. Even in the US, when you protest, you might get suspended, right? If you against Israel or something like that. Same as here, universities are usually safer, but even that, they have attacked on university campuses before, and they have shot rubber bullets as people, and also regular bullets as people before. It's basically more akin to a street war than to a protest. Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. How convincing is some of the propaganda coming from the regime in terms of military response? Because I see a lot of these videos that get posted sometimes by official Iranian Twitter accounts where it's like missiles raining down on Tel Aviv and Haifa. Like, is that convincing to anyone in the country, or is it just for regime members?
That's a good question. I would say it works on the regime members, obviously, but no, on the general populace, that's either a big joke or it's a depressing reminder that everything is going to get worse. Yeah, like that's what everyone thinks about this. No, in general, the propaganda of the regime has for a long time not been working on the people anymore. One of the people that of these 4 guys that got killed was I think he was also mentioned later. No, it's not one of these 3. He was what? I forgot his name. How did I forget? The Air Force general. How did I forget his name? Hajizadeh.
Okay.
I think he's also killed, if I'm correct. Now I'm reading that some people are saying he hasn't died, but I've read that he's died. Like, I think they are saying it and they are denying it. I'm not sure about it. Hajizadeh was the guy. He's the aerospace general of the IRGC, and he does the rocket stuff. And he is very, very hated by the populace because of the 2019 shooting of the Ukrainian plane that killed around 180 people. They shot down a plane.
Okay.
That was and that was basically his doing. Now that I read it, I think he's not dead. I'm not sure. Like, you have to wait to see whether the last news was true that he's died.
Apparently, the New York Times removed the reports that Connie died, but it's just it depends on. I feel like they won't be able to hide deaths like this for too long. It seems like they're fairly open about who's dying and when.
These are the Schrodinger's commanders.
Right.
But I think out of all of these judges, that they might be the most hated one by the populace.
Yeah. Does it make you? Do you feel optimistic or pessimistic about what might happen next?
That's a good question. I think it depends. It depends whether because there is a chance that everything that they were saying was just a lie. Like, they don't have anything to offer. Because they shot some drones this morning. Maybe that's their entire military capability, or maybe it's not. Maybe they have something hidden in their sleeves. Best possible outcome is that they just don't do anything, and they just go back to the talks, the nuclear talks, and they just surrender. They say, we got it wrong, and we will just surrender. That's the best outcome. Anything other than that is going to be just a shit show and a tragedy. If they retaliate, if they manage to kill Israelis and make them retaliate again, it's going to be. I hope that doesn't happen somehow. Like these, I hope that, and that's a pretty slim chance. I don't think that there's a very very slim possibility that they're not going to do anything. They're probably going to retaliate. The regime, and that's very bad. That's the worst outcome. Let's see what happens.